Wild
True.
tree?
Wild tree. Okay, let me see here. Let me see. Open profile. Okay, I'll send you a interesting. Send a notice to the judge to the there's no judge involved, right? So the attorney.
Yeah, there's not really, I guess, an attorney. I mean, I guess there's an attorney involved. They basically the lender hired a foreclosure company called National Default Servicing
So
Corporation.
so we did send them a notice that they're acting as a fiduciary, and they're in violation of 6903 as a fiduciary, and committing treason because they're cheating the United States out of tax revenue. They're denying the United States due process. Because when
Oh, I
you
like the sound of that.
under Title 26, 6903, they have to send a notice to the secretary that they're administering an estate so that they can pay the taxes. So all these assholes aren't notifying the secretary of state, so they're pocketing the money and running away, denying the United States due process, which would happen if they sent a notice to the secretary. Um, and the penalties, and it's treason, by the way. Also, it's treason. And
So,
so all
so
these
does that
attorneys,
stop the foreclosure, or does it postpone it,
well,
or what happens when?
I would contact a servicing company, give them notice of tax evasion, money laundering, securities fraud, and treason. Where's your 6903? Contact their. I would send a. I'll get a letter to you to send to them.
Oh my God, that would be
And,
amazing. Thank you so
yep.
much.
And the penalties under 7201 through 7201, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are huge penalties there. Um, dun, 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 dun. Realize anyone doing any kind of collection is an IRS agent. They're acting as a tax agent since everything's taxes. You could also contact TICTA that these people are engaged in money laundering, securities fraud, tax evasion, uh, violating 6903, 7603. 7603 is for summonses. For summonses. Um, 7603 is tied with 6903. So anytime you get a summons, whoever issued the summons had better notified the had
Does
better
that
have
work for
notified.
like a court case? I have a criminal court
Yes.
case I've been fighting for 2 years also.
Is that because you didn't want to get out of the car? You being all, John Wayne. Is that
No, it's 15 felony charges, but there was no grand jury indictment, there's no injured party. I
have
was
you
never
gone
arrested.
have you gone and asked to see the magistrate 3 times with 2 witnesses?
I did actually do that because
Did
Derek helped me with
did
that, but it
did
didn't
you
work,
write?
unfortunately.
What do you mean it didn't work? Did you write it up?
Yeah, I had the affidavits from the other
And you
witnesses, and
and you served notice to everybody?
yes, and when I filed it into court, and the judge struck every single thing I filed from the record.
It's a judicial notice.
Yes, they struck that
You
from the
can't.
record also.
That's a violation. So at this point, in that case, for that court case, I'd file, I'd send a notice to the, and I would CC the Treasury Inspector General. I would CC the Secretary down in Puerto Rico. I would CC the Office of the Comptroller, the local Provost Marshal, the DC Metro Police, the Secret Service. Is this being recorded?
Yes.
Okay. The Secret Service, um, the Attorney General, the Governor, Secretary of State, um, who else? Also, I would the county controller as well. You have the state comptroller, but there's also a county controller too, supposedly. I found one here, and let them all know that you have a rogue judge who's engaged He's engaged in treason because of the 16 out of 3. Not to mention destroying a judicial notice. He can't destroy judicial notice. What else would that be called? Were you arraigned? Did you ever get called into court or what? Were you ever arraigned? Were you called into court? I don't know where she is at. Did she leave? Did I leave? Can you guys hear me? Can anybody hear me?
You, but she fell off.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I guess you can call the FBI. I'd call the local FBI down there in Long Beach, where she's at. How do you know the FBI's in Long Beach? Because I had them on speed dial on my phone, and just in case the cops pull me over. Huh?
Oh, I was just saying that actually what happened was they brought in 4 more sheriffs into the arraignment, and because I made a special appearance, and they said if I don't appear generally, they're going to issue an arrest warrant for $25,000. And so, and I objected to that. I said, and anyway, I asked the judge, does this court have jurisdiction? And she said yes. And we asked if it had been proven on the record, and she shut the whole courtroom down, got very flustered, and then made us see a different judge. And then the same thing, basically. And then they brought 4 sheriffs in. They tried to open the door to the bar and get me to go through the bar, and I didn't do it. And then and then this next judge issued the arrest warrant, and at the same time the sheriff said, you're done, you can leave, have a nice day.
So
And that was
it's probably a capias, but I would still do. Anytime there's a restaurant, I would still go do or have somebody go do the magistrate thing.
right. Well, I did the magistrate thing I did before they issued the arrest warrant. That was
And
like
now they issued another one. So now they issued another one. So go do it again.
No, I never had a first one because I showed up to every court.
Were you arrested previously?
No, I was never arrested.
Really? You weren't pulled over on the side of the road and held, detained?
No, they basically it was a Fish and Game came to my house when I wasn't there and served a search warrant. And then and then 10 months later they filed charges against me.
But anytime I'm getting any type of visit from the whoever's, I want to go do the magistrate thing wherever they're located, just to show that what are you guys doing? There's no is this a police investigation or what are you guys doing? Just fun to do.
Well, yeah, the other thing is there's a civil case that's, attached to the criminal case, and yesterday they sent me a notice to appear for a court date for June 10th.
Have you done your
and they sent it, and I got it yesterday. I'm like, oh, that's cute.
How'd you get it? Were you certified?
Yeah, certified mail.
And when was it franked? When did it enter the mail?
Let me look. I think it entered. The notice said June 5th, but I think it said
I want the envelope. I want what the envelope says.
Yeah, let me look at the envelope. Hang on.
Why'd you piss them off? What got them all pissed off? I don't know what's going on. What game were you playing to get them all pissed off?
Oh, there were cannabis plants on the property, so they were.
Oh, smoking the ganja, the Maui Wowie, the Mad Reefer.
Yeah, big criminal over here. But yeah, they don't like that.
Have you done your power of attorney yet from the LCAP same to you?
Yes, I have a durable power of attorney. I have a name change with a decree removing
So did
disabilities
you
of
do
my
the certificate of
mother.
validity?
I haven't heard of that one. Certificate of validity?
Yeah, I don't know what template you used to make your power of attorney. What rocket lawyer or something?
No, it was part of, I did a process for religious diplomatic immunity in The Hague.
Okay,
And
okay.
one of the documents I got done over there was a durable power of attorney.
I'll see what that looks like because it doesn't. Alabama Uniform Power of Attorney Act, Uniform Power of Attorney Act, Alabama. You can read over that one. There's a read it. I read it 3-4 times, and because I can appoint you power of attorney. Oh, guess what? I just made you power of attorney. Oh, guess what? She didn't do her duties over here. Lucky her. She didn't do her duties. I made you power of attorney. Now I'm gonna hold you accountable for not doing what the power of attorney said you could do. What do you think about that?
That's
Not
interesting.
good.
Huh?
How did you get the certificate of validity again? You record it on the county and get the certificate of validity by pulling it back
Right
out?
Right now I'm dealing with a woman who just got this overseas power of attorney. So if I name you power of attorney and you don't do anything, can I get you in trouble for it? Hey, she didn't do her duties as a power of attorney.
Yes.
Really?
Not
What
if
does she
she-
say? What did she
Not-
say? What did she say? What did she say?
She has to accept it.
I'm not talking to you, dude.
Sorry.
No, but you're right. No, you got to be right, Itis. Now you just destroyed her learning and thinking through things. Fuck.
My bad.
Anytime there's a grant or an appointment, you have to acknowledge and accept it to perfect the conveyance. Is she still here? She jump off again.
She's here.
I'm here.
Okay.
If you're talking about me. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. Were you listening? I don't know. I'm confused.
It cut out.
you-
I didn't hear the last thing.
What was the last thing you heard? What was the last thing you heard?
Something about, what was it? The form. I forget what it's called now. The the form you
The
were saying.
title?
No,
The
you were saying
title?
have I done this form or something? That's the
Nope.
last thing I heard.
I didn't. The form. There's no form. So if I wrote, if I named you power of attorney, hey look, hey, I put you down here as power of attorney, and oh look, you haven't done power of attorney duties. Now I'm going to sue you for breach because I put your name down on a piece of paper, said you're power of attorney, and then you didn't perform. I'm going to now sue you for breach. Is that legitimate? I wrote your name down on the paper, said you're the attorney, in fact, and you didn't do anything. So now you're in trouble.
I
Does
don't
that make
think
sense?
so, but I'm not.
What the,
I'm not sure. I
you don't
guess I
think
don't know.
you don't think so what?
I don't think you would sue somebody for not doing, if you wrote their name as your durable power of attorney and they didn't do anything. But I
Well,
don't.
yeah, you didn't perform. You didn't perform.
But was there a contract or an obligation for them to perform?
You would have to accept the appointment, right?
Right. Okay.
Just because I write your name down on the back of the title to my truck with a blown head gasket, a 2000 Dodge Dakota with a blown head gasket. Well, I put your name on the back of the title of the car. Now you're liable for it. Right here, you get all the tickets and everything. You're liable for it because I wrote your name on the back of the title of the truck. That works, right? I wrote your name. See, it's on the back of the title. It's yours now. See right here, so it's your title. I wrote your name on the back. So now you're liable for the truck because I wrote your name on the back. Does that make sense? Is she
Right.
not listening again?
No,
What,
I'm
right?
listening.
What right? I asked a question. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense.
So if I write your name on the back of the title here in Arizona and you're in California, and now the truck, anything that the parking tickets and everything now go to you because I wrote your name on the back of the title to the truck
Well, no, I don't
over
think
here
that
in
makes
Arizona.
sense. I don't think that would make sense.
When would you have liability for the truck?
If it's still if it's in
or-
your name, I guess.
When would you have liability? When would you have authority over the truck?
I don't know. I mean, I know that when you sell a car, you do the release of liability.
And what do you do with the title?
You sign it.
What?
Well, like if you're
Yeah, I
selling
put
a
your.
car, you would sign it and then you do the
What does the
release.
buyer do? What does the buyer do?
They fill out a title.
No, they take it to the DMV and have the car, have the automobile, the certificate of title put in their name.
Right. But there's that time between. That's why
I'm not
you
worried
sign
about.
Okay.
A separate issue. The truck's not yours until you take it to the DMV and title it in your name.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Same thing with a grant or a appointment. The grant is not perfected until you acknowledge and accept the grant, and the appointment's not, all the powers of the appointment don't happen until you acknowledge and accept the appointment. The same way as writing your name on the back of the title to a truck. Well, yeah, you can write your name anywhere you want. Doesn't mean that. I'm not taking any liability. No. Just because you write my name down.
Right.
What would happen if you acted like my power of attorney and didn't have it?
Yeah, that's true.
That's bad.
What would happen?
That's
Yeah,
bad.
you would. Is that like
Yeah,
practicing law?
I did identity theft. I have to go see what happens when someone fakes a power of attorney. Identity theft. Probably some big things bad happen.
Yeah, you could
So
get in a lot of trouble for that, I would think.
yeah, so I would go ahead and look up Uniform Power of Attorney Act, Alabama in Google. Uniform Power of Attorney Act, Alabama. Why Alabama? Because it's written for a 4th grade education. Because the Yankees murdered off all the bright people and left the stupid ones to breed, so they have to write everything for a 4th grade education. Damn Yankees. And it has commentary in between the code sections. There's actually commentary that tells you why to, why not, how come, what for, what not to do, blah blah blah, things to consider. It even has a example of the power of attorney, and it also has the agent certificate of validity accepting the appointment. And then you just want to make sure when you do the power of attorney for California, one of the specific grants of authority is real estate. You have general grants of authority and specific grants of authority. California requires a specific mention of real estate. Different states have different variations of general and specific and certain requirements.
I think my durable power of attorney has that in there.
Okay, then don't do it. Some ecclesiastical Hague power of attorney. Okay, but you never acknowledged and accepted the appointment.
Acknowledged and accepted the appointment for the.
Could be a power of attorney over what? What are you power of attorney over?
Over the all caps.
Okay, but you never accepted it. It's just written down on a piece of paper, like your name on the back of the title to my broken down truck. You never acknowledged and accepted it.
Yeah, but I thought with durable power with any power of attorney that you just have to sign it and then it like both parties sign it or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've said my piece. You go ahead and run with it and do that. And maybe that's why they don't recognize your power of attorney in court.
Well, how do you accept it?
Read the Uniform Power of Attorney Act for Alabama.
Oh, read that and then that tells you how.
It tells it tells you what a real power of attorney is. I don't know who these Hague people are, or what authority is it recognized here? Was it authenticated from the Hague to here? I don't know where they even got this Hague idea for a power of attorney.
It was just part of the other documents that I did. There was like a trust and
and whose package was this?
I could tell you privately if you want.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not going to compete with you. I don't think your power of attorney is worth shit. So,
I'm not trying to compete, believe me. I'm trying to learn.
but you keep. Okay, go read the Uniform Power of Attorney Act, Alabama, and then tell me what you find.
Okay.
And see,
I'll do that.
and make notes of what you see different between the two. I know when I did the power of attorney and certificate of validity, they no longer call me Mr. Baby. They call me Smoking. They use my Christian name on the side of the road. I'm no longer Mr. When I recorded it, it triggered something on the back end.
That's funny.
It's true. They call me by my Christian name.
So you actually changed your name to Smoking Baby?
No, darling, I'm not gonna. I don't use my.
I was like, that's hilarious.
On here, I am Smoking Baby. Just like in the military, I was lieutenant. So, I don't like when people use my name. I don't give people. It's identity theft if someone uses my name. I hate when people come on there and start doing that shit. Fucking bugs. It's identity theft. We're just going over identity theft under the FTC and the Security Exchange Commission and the FDCPA and Rule F. Before I came out and walked the kitty. Identity theft. You realize even someone using your mailing address is identity theft, phone number, identity theft under the Security Exchange Commission. FTC has its own definition. SEC has its own definition. FDCPA all have their own definitions. IRS has their own separate definitions of identity theft. And I figure if they do one, they do them all. So I like reporting them all for identity theft. And that's it. Did you get the forms package that Holly and me put together when she was still here? No. I guess people can hear me.
No, I was just looking up the Alabama Act.
You were Googling
The Uniform
Power of
HOA
Attorney.
Act. Yeah.
Uniform Power of Attorney Act, Alabama. Yeah. It's under a .ms domain, Mississippi domain.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I got that package. They wouldn't even look at it. The bailiffs wouldn't take it. They were scared to death of it.
What package?
The W7, the W8 bin,
Oh, yeah.
W9, I9, the public service questionnaire, all the
14,
whole package.
14309, 8300, 8300.
Is that
Well-
was that like reporting the taxes of a case or something? Is that like with the 3949A or is that something else?
8300. No, these are all their forms we want them to fill out. Yep. They're not going to fill out their own suspicious activity report. I want to include in there, I'll put it in the room, the 2373, 10492, and 4490, 4810, 5495, statement, notice, and claim of taxes. There's a docket number that goes on the 2373, 10492, and the 4490. There's actually a docket number, and the 4810 as well. These assholes, they don't have an oath of office. They don't have an SF-61 on file. They bypass the secretary in Puerto Rico. They're looting them. They're looting the country, engaging in treason. You realize? Did you invoke their oath? Did you do a judicial notice of their oath? You take out. I do a judicial notice for these judges, and a separate one for each, and I take all 5 of their oaths and I invoke their oath for them. I write their oath for them and sign it for them. and and then record it, and then take the publicly recorded document and take it to the court. Here you go. What's he gonna do? What's he
Now
gonna do? Say, huh?
Now they're bound.
What are they? Well, what are they gonna do? I never signed this oath. Are they gonna go in there and say I never signed this oath? You could even do their electronic signature with a /S, whatever, for the electric signature form. They're bound. We could bind them. And they're certainly not going to say I never took that oath. I think it's hilarious. We put them in, putting them in an impossibility. So funny. So you still growing pot on your property?
Not really right now, no.
Oh, just mushrooms now. No, not that
No.
either.
No. No, just veggies and fruit trees.
Oh, that's no. Are they vaccinated? Are they vaccinated veggies? We have to call Mr. Gremlin. What's that little gremlin? Harari? That degenerate piece of shit. Oh. You're selling counterfeit vegetables. Yeah, look at you. They're actually they're not jabbed. They're not adulterated.
Uh-oh.
Do you hear what Tennessee did? Tennessee made a rule that because they're putting all this lettuce in there that's garbage, and because it has the vaccine in it, and
Is that
they're
real?
not saying they. Oh yeah. Yep, lettuce. Big one. I don't know if cucumbers, but lettuce. I know lettuce is a big one. Anyway, you can look up vaccine vegetables, and Tennessee made a law, not that they couldn't sell it, but because it's vaccinated vegetables, it has to be sold in the pharmacy and requires a prescription.
Is that real? That's
Yes,
crazy.
it's
Oh my
legit.
goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it's brilliant.
That is pretty brilliant.
Uh-huh.
Gotta get to see, man.
Say it one more time.
I said you gotta give it to Tennessee. They got that
No chemtrails.
uniform
No chemtrails.
yeah.
Yep. So do the power of attorney. Get it. So you're going to record the power of attorney, and then once you get the book and page number back, then you're going to do the certificate of validity accepting the appointment, and then the certificate of validity is going to note the book and page number or whatever where the power of attorney is recorded. And I'll show you what I do because I put my biometrics, a photograph, and all these other things on this agent certificate of validity because I have a face, but the principal, all caps name, doesn't have a face, and your signatures are different. I have a SmokingBaby squiggle on the power of attorney because that's on the all caps power of attorney because that's the signature for the all caps person, but for the certificate of validity, it's called Master Baby. I use a master middle name as this different signature for the certificate of validity as the attorney in fact signature. So the signatures are different, so it doesn't look like self-dealing. Because I'm a executor, I'm also a trust protector, a grantor, grantee, trustor. I have all these different capacities. Each one has a different squiggle, and my squiggles are copywritten. And so because if I'm using the same signature everywhere, it looks like me self-dealing with me over here with me, with a trustee me, and all these. See what I mean? If the signature is the same, it's the same person. So the different signatures gives the office color. That's color for the office with a different squiggle. Get it? Comprende?
Interesting. So is that similar to, I've heard people say for like the Anlegas, there's one signature, and then for the living person, there's another or something like that. Is that a similar kind
Yes,
of
in
a
every
thing?
capacity, you have a different squiggle. as far as the straw man, whatever you
Black
started,
and white.
whatever you've been signing the straw man with, I keep using that one, but in your other capacities have different squiggles. Like let me see, smoking. Executor smoking would be for the executor, or trust protector the baby. The smoke, or trust protector the smoking, or go look in Investopedia and figure out all the different types of capacities that are possible. Why do we do that? Because we want to capture all the capacities so that no lawyer can stick his, pardon my phrase, so a lawyer can't come around, find an empty capacity and stick his dick into it and act like he has any authority.
That's a great way to put it.
Because you realize this, the mortgage has a fictitious name, the Smoking Baby, comma, in Arizona. Let's say that was the name of the buyer. The Smoking Baby in Arizona was the borrower on the mortgage deed of trust. Well, it's an unregistered fictitious business name. The grantee never acknowledged to accept the grant, and no one got a receipt. And so now this is unregistered fictitious business name sitting there, and the attorneys wait about 3 to 10 years so they can loot so they draw down the full value of the note, and then they come in and foreclose. Why? Because they looted the escrow account, and now they're going to foreclose to protect the real party in interest who hasn't appeared, the grantee or the Smoking Baby in Arizona. So now they're going to come in and protect the assets by foreclosing and kicking all the squatters that are on the property, because they're just squatters, because their name's not on the deed, the grantee's name, they're not the grantee's name, and they're not the borrower's name, and so they're going to evict everybody else because all these bogus names are there, and then so they evict everybody. Because if I actually have a deed to property or title to it, then then they have to sue me for the title. But if my name's not on the title, they just evict me because I'm a squatter, because I don't have title. And so, like, if you have these mortgage, by capturing all these different capacities, well, now no one can sneak in. Not to mention, it's interesting to learn all the different types of capacities, because it opens up a world of possibilities of other things that you might want to worry about someone else occupying right now, like conservatorship, guardianship, and custodialship over your estate, birth estate. Someone's occupying those capacities currently. Why? Because you haven't come forward with power of attorney and kicked everybody the fuck out. So you have some of the custodialship guarding the bathroom, so determining when you can take a piss, and then you have a guardianship guarding the fridge, so they can determine how much you eat, and you have conservatorship that determines how much you can spend. Let's say there's just an idea, so someone's putting their finger in there, keeping you from doing, because they know better. Why? Well, if this wasn't how it's supposed to be, I wouldn't have this position. So I still have this position. Okay, you're all fired. All of you get the fuck out.
Have you done that?
Yeah, my power of attorney. Yeah, my power of attorney is a testamentary power of attorney, terminating all these different capacities, and
That's
assigning
awesome.
all the capacities to the appointee.
I have to do an application for a Florida driver's license. What capacity do I sign, since I don't have my certificate of validity yet? What capacity can I do that after to get that done? Get my certificate of validity?
How long
I'm
can
gonna do the app first.
Okay, it shouldn't take that long to do a certificate of validity. It's a one-pager.
Okay.
If you have your power of attorney done already, even if you did it up in Maine, I think this is Susan.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, got your voice. Yeah. So even if you did the power of attorney up in Maine, well, now you're in Florida, and now you can do the certificate of validity down there, and just annotate the book page number and court and everything like that where the power of attorney in Maine is, and you want your picture and all that stuff.
Cool. So I can use what's up there and get it annotated here on the certificate of validity. Gotcha.
You
Correct?
just need to point to where the original power of attorney is recorded.
Got it.
And of course, you want your picture and all the biometrics. You've seen that before, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you want that, and You could do master whatever if you want to do it that way. Whatever squiggle. Really, it's, well, can a girl be a master? Shouldn't it be a mistress? No, it's a squiggle. Your name is still your name. I would do last name, comma, first middle, as far as the appointee. But anyway, even this, but the squiggle itself, it's just a squiggle. But it looks like Master Scott for me, and that's what's on both my California and Arizona driver's license, Master Scott.
So I don't have to have any qualifier before it, by colon or comma AIF after it, because I don't want to have anything stopping me. The girls at the office are trying so hard to help me get where I'm going. They sent me a letter from their house so that I could have mail at the physical location where I'm at. They're really sweet girls. I don't know
Oh,
any
yeah,
D&D people that are sweet.
they're your what's it called, the remote office. No, you just do the squiggle, master whatever. Whatever
Gotcha. Thank you.
uh-huh. Master whatever. Or a baroness. You could be a baroness. That's you have
I like
master and
Master's good.
yeah, the master of the vessel. That's my thinking. Master of the vessel.
Master and
It's fun.
Commander.
Master Commander. That's a great show. Hornblower. When I did my when I got my California license renewed in 2019, I drove way out to the BFE place, not hanging out there in Santa Clarita with a, a 97 person long DMV line full of Mexicans and all these other things. So I went way up in the hinterland, and it was like nobody was there. It was like 3 or 4 people there. No, walked right in there, took my little test, walked up, and then signed up. When I did the signature, Master Scott. Uh, uh, I signed it, and she looked at it on the screen, and she looked up. She looked at me. She goes, "Master Scott." She said, "Very nice." I mean, she had a gleam in her eye. It wasn't just like she wasn't pandering to me. It's just she she recognized the different capacity or something like that. She was cluing into what I was doing, so it's kind of interesting.
That's huge. That's fantastic.
Yep.
But you were paying attention. See, sometimes I don't always catch these God nods that I get, and you were paying attention. You heard it. You knew he was aware of what you were doing.
Because I didn't sign in the name of the all caps name. The squiggle didn't match the legal name, so it creates a separation. A different squiggle creates a separation. It's all colorful. It's the color of law, right? Under the color of law. That's what all this is, colorable.
It's only taken 6 years to realize that there's all these capacities and all these squiggles, and I should have been keeping a chart.
Well, for me, I have different. Every once in a while, I don't sign them all the time. About once every month, I'm behind a month. I just go through and I just do a page of them for the different capacities, just all the way down the page, just so it's more
Gotcha.
natural. Because I have my squiggles copywritten as art mark, and so if anyone reprints it, they don't have if they have a copy and they don't have the original, well, they just violated a copyright. Have the court put it in the make a photocopy of my traffic ticket. Oh, that's a copyright violation. What are you doing?
That's good. I like that one.
I know. Also, my fingerprints. My fingerprints are copywritten. Retinal scan is copywritten. I need to do my face, my voice, and my kinematics, my body movements. Because my song, you can copyright a song. You can copyright a movie. And so my voice is a song. Don't you think so? I think the angels weep, stars fall from heaven, and babies cry. But
I concur
I
completely.
I call it a song, and so that way, because they're doing all this biometric shit, capturing your face, capturing your voice, they can tell who you are by the way your bones move around. You know, the way your bones are put together. Even if you're on stilts or wear, the high heel, whatever shoes, whatever, and all that stuff, trying to hide your identity, they can still tell by your shoulders and your hips and how they all move together, and your vein patterns.
Biometrics.
But I don't have my. Yep. Yeah. Kinematics and biometrics. Yep. And so I'm capturing all those pieces. I need to do the other ones. If I could get rid of this freaking foreclosure here, it's been going on for like a year. And
You have trash cans yet?
no, still
Ah.
no trash cans yet either. But I'm charging them $1,000 a week. Maybe $1,000 a week, and I'm doing triple damages because it's a willful harassment. I'm not going to sue them for it. Well, I may turn them into an invoice, and then and see how they behave, and then hopefully they'll argue about it, and they'll just stipulate to it. Okay, you stipulated to it, and hit him with the taxes. But I don't have my trash cans yet. It's a pain in the ass. They took my trash cans to try to force me to pay the $1,200 they claimed was owed on a deceased woman's homeowner account without any verified accounting, without any certificate from a CPA. They just demanded $1,200, and I don't get my trash cans back until I pay the $1,200. And they wouldn't tell me how much of the $66 a month paid for. Out of the $66, what percentage of that $66 paid for the trash cans? I'll get the trash cans up. No, you have to pay the full amount. So, well, what is it? Okay, that's fine. But what is the percentage of the $66 is the trash service? Nope, we can't talk to you about it. I said, so you guys are padding $20 extra onto everyone's account, and you're running away with the money because the trash cans are only costing $10. Was it $30 a quarter? But you're charging more. So you guys are laundering money from the homeowners and padding it in your little pockets because you won't tell me the breakdown of what the $66 pays for. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, no true bill.
They're not. There's no breakdown of what that $66 is all about. And number two, in order for there to be a $66 balance on account, someone would have to have extended $66 in the first place to create the $66 on the account, right? Someone would have to put the $66 in that now we have to balance the $66 with, right? There can't be a debt without a creditor. So there has to be an initial extension of
There
credit.
has to be an application.
Oh, maybe not application. The money has to come from somewhere to pay for all this Mexicans mowing the lawn and the trash service, which is pretty much all they do. So where did the money come from to create the obligation? I think you guys, imagine this. Imagine if they're only charging us $66, but actually they're running $6,000 per house on the back end, laundering cartel money. So all we see is $66, but on the back end, they're cooking the books and laundering money for the cartels.
So
And
your question, where did it come from? Did it come from the mortgage agreement or the homeowner's agreement? Where did it initially get the funding?
But that's my point. They won't tell me. They won't tell me the source of the funds creating this obligation. They won't tell me. So I'm considering. I thought they were just doing, the cartel was putting up the money for the trash for the $66 a month, and I started thinking, well, maybe the $66 a month is just to make sure we feel like that, this is the legitimate thing. But they could be running tens of thousands of dollars a month through all these accounts, laundering cartel drug money here in Arizona, and we wouldn't be any of the difference because the HOA has a property management company on the other side, and it's just this convoluted thing where the person who filed the lien against the house with only 3 months in arrears and $264 unpaid, it has to be 1 year and $1,200. He lost Praderas farmland, which it's him. It's his family, Mr. Los Praderas. And so, but he's not part of the HOA. He's part of this Legacy Partner Services. And so Mr. Pedersen, Mr. Legacy Partner Services, filed a lien against the property, and he's not even part of the HOA. And supposedly we owe the HOA money. But we get letters from Legacy Partners from Mr. Pedersen. And Mr. Pedersen was probably the La Familia Los Praderas, and his name is probably not Eric, it's probably Enrique Praderas, involved with the cartel money laundering. That's my belief, anyway.
Sounds like the movie Laundromat.
Yeah, it sounds like Laundromat. I know. Yeah. It's freaking crazy. So yeah, that's what's going on here. And the attorney filed a lien. And little Enrique filed a lien against, and these are bogus liens. They're bogus liens, and there's a huge penalty for that. And yeah, so that's what I've been dealing with for the past year, even longer than that, from 2022. But anyway,
Well, I'm
I
interested
was
in you getting resolution. That's like all of us, to have
I'm
resolution,
gonna
to have any forward movement.
well, they owe me $39,000 already for in 2020, 2018, and 2019 until February 1st of 23. They actually left a blue trash bin on my property. It blew down the street. It blocked the driveway. I pulled it off the sidewalk, and it sat there on the rocks between the houses from October 18th, 2021, all the way until February 1st, 2023. And little Enrique, who's not part of the HOA, was going around enforcing HOA rules. Oh, there's a trash can there, and reporting it to the HOA, but he's the statutory agent. Statutory agent is supposed to be arm's length distance, but he's actually involved in running the HOA, reporting things. Why? Because now we can file a lien and make a profit off foreclosing on houses. So he's a statutory agent with a conflict of interest. Not to mention, he's also the manager company, and he keeps track of all the billing.
He's a Karen and he's double dipping.
Not to mention, he's saying everything's late. Oh, we send in the bill, the monthly dues, and the third week of the month every month, and he says, "Oh, it was late." Wait a minute, it was late. It was mailed on this day. It's number one. If it's the franking date on the envelope that determines lateness. But they won't produce the envelopes. They, and
That's
they're
handy.
charging me. They're charging me for weeds. They say weeds, like we have these giant dandelions in the yard that the birds like to eat and the lizards like to hang around and all this stuff for the flora and fauna. They keep saying, no, trim your weeds, trim your weeds. The funniest thing is I look in the CC&Rs, homeowner associations have CC&Rs. It's kind of like the Nazi handbook. And because HOAs are Nazis. And nothing in the CC&Rs, there's not an exhaustive list of all forms of flora and fauna that is weeds, and there's not an exhaustive list of flora and fauna that is not weeds. And weeds,
So
there's
you
no,
could just say they're flowers that you chose to have.
and in the plant kingdom and animal kingdom, you have a taxonomy of the animal and plant kingdom. Well, the plant kingdom does not have a taxonomy of weeds. Weeds is not part of the taxonomy of the plant kingdom. And so I'm going to hit them for the exhaustive list, and that's like $50, $50, $50, sometimes twice a month, $50 twice a month, like they just did this month. The 21st and the 31st, I got hit for two $50 fees within 10 days for weeds, and two $50 for trimming a bush. And I was going, right here, see this twig right here? See, I trimmed the bush. It's right here, this little stick. They don't tell you how to trim it. They just say, trim your bush.
There's no criteria, but they're just so.
Okay, I gave myself a Brazilian. Oh, look at that. How about that? Or a Hitler, whatever, whatever trimming that is down there. And
Take a
so,
picture of your Coca-Cola can as far as their common ways and their maybe retention ponds, what their fauna and botanicals look like in comparison to your beautiful native plants that you have growing on the property.
yeah, that would be an argument as if, but the problem is that they can't define weeds. There's no definition of weeds. It doesn't exist. Any kind, nowhere. It's if it makes someone feel bad, oh, look at those weeds. I'm going, really? Those are weeds?
Ambiguity is their meal ticket.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. It's arbitrary capricious. If it makes them feel good or something, I guess if it's not weeds. We have these little yellow-breasted finches and yellow-breast finches and red-breast finches, and they come around and they pull little tufts out of the dandelions. They come sit on there and they eat parts of it. And I've captured them on photo for it, and it goes on and on and on. on and on and on. Not to mention the attorneys didn't do their Rule 11 minimum investigation to make sure it's not frivolous. And so by the time the attorneys got involved, Mr. Paderas, Mr. Lil Enrique had already filed a lien against the property. And going, I guess you guys didn't do your Rule 11. That's mandatory sanctions, and they're violating FDCPA. And the paralegal we consult with every now and then, she says, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to file a bar complaint against these, and you're gonna be able to get a FDCPA attorneys and sue them." This is what the paralegal was saying, and all this shit they're pulling. But anyway, so that trash can back in 2021 until 2023, I wrote them a notice in June of 2022 as a dispute letter, billing error dispute notice, and I took a picture of my blue recycle bin in the back. I took a picture of it with a serial number, and then I took the one between the houses. There's two houses on one side, right? And it's between the houses. And I took the picture of the one that he says belongs to us that we should move, and and I wrote him a letter saying, here's a serial number for 1959, and here's the serial number for 1941 next door. And I said, what address is this serial number? What address does the serial number go to? And they said, fuck off. You don't have a power of attorney. We can't talk about the account with you. And I was going like, I wasn't talking about the account. I want to know who it belongs to. And so the reason they stuffed it onto my house, 1959, is because the house next door was purchased by BlackRock. So BlackRock, if they're to get a $50 fee, their lawyers are going to come up and stomp Moonshadow and Lil Enrique. The lawyers would start digging into them. So that's why they arbitrarily decided it was 1959's blue trash bin. And so they left it on there. And they were charging $50 a month for the blue trash bin being visible from the street. Well, I said, well, I have a lease on this property, and the HOA is storing their trash service on my lease. So I'm charging them $50 a day for storing their property on my lease. They're $50 a month. I'm $50 a day for storing their shit on my property, my lease property. And it's like, at this point, it's like $45,000 with a consumer price index adjustment.
SB. So look, you're talking about BlackRock. So what I just posted just now. So we're trying to find the correlation. So this girl, Vanessa Fricky, she's a genius. She's very smart. She don't know a lot about the stuff that a lot of us know about on these, but she's done a lot of research, and her daughter was stolen by a man that wasn't even her father, and the little girl's father, and was shooting her up with meth and stuff, rope burns, black eyes and stuff. And the same drug test lab that falsified my drug test, that's connected to the courts, across from the courts, falsified their drug test and his drug test to make him clean. We've caught this major racket, right? Well, she started doing research, and I had found like 6 different $50 million mortgages that were connected to the land parcels that had the 226 rental properties on them. Well, it appears, I don't know what I'm looking at, but what she has uncovered, well, I just noticed that the file number is 117 on all of the marriage license. And what she's saying here in this text is that they're like reselling these properties, and it's all BlackRock stuff. Like my father-in-law's got the sheriff sale fixed, right? And they have a monopoly on the foreclosures. And so there's apparently the Mayus, what she thinks is the Mayus are the Celestis. They're making up names.
Oh.
And they're like selling and reselling these properties, and like for like next to nothing, and like making these massive mortgages for $50 million.
Yep.
It's crazy. I don't even
they're doing
understand
whitewater
it all, but like she's put it all together. Yeah.
They're doing whitewater.
I really don't understand it all, but I kind but it's got to be BlackRock. That's what it is. I'm like, man, fuck. She like talking about reporting the governor. I was like, babe, you can't beat the whole system.
You blow the whistle.
You can go after these local people. These local.
No, you go to the IRS. You blow the whistle to the IRS. You don't touch this public side. Yeah. Our duty is to report to the IRS. We're not supposed to touch this jungle out here on the public side. But they're doing the same whitewater. Remember the whitewater stuff that the Clintons were doing? Doing the bogus loan to launder drug money for the Mena, Arkansas cocaine fest that old Billy Boy was doing.
Yeah.
And all those whitewater records ended up in Oklahoma City when they blew it up, along with a bunch of other things were inside that Oklahoma building. Other types of cases were all destroyed. And so it'd be fun if they are going to do this kind of house steal. I would get a stipulation from them. So okay, here's the value of the house is $50 million, absent evidence to the contrary, and you must have all the facts and evidence readily at hand. So 3 days is more than enough time to swear out a valuation of the house. After 3 days, it'll be an automatic default, and a stipulation to the $50 million.
If you look at the bottom of mine, the one that said, "What do you notice about this?" It says, so Russell J. Gold told me in a private meeting, somebody paid $1,000 for me to meet with him, and he said, "Go to." This is an old school trick he used to do. He said, "Go to the clerk of courts and ask, because we're divorced." And he said, "Ask for a certified copy of the marriage license. Say, me and my wife, I want to get a certified copy of a marriage license for Christmas or for her birthday or whatever, and frame it." And so, well, it's a constructive fraud. Everybody's still married. Nobody actually closes out the corporal hereditaments of your last name. They don't do a fiefment, and they don't close out the accounts. And so everybody, it's a constructive fraud. Everybody is still married that are divorced.
Well,
to whoever they divorce, they don't close them out.
I see.
And so you can look at the bottom in the blue. So they certified that we were supposed to be divorced in 2019, but right here, and December of 22, they certified that we're still married. So he was like, you can go in there and drop a bomb on him and be like, are we still married? And the judge would be like, of course, or are we divorced? And the judge would be like, of course, I divorced y'all. And then you say, I like to submit Exhibit A, and then you submit that and say, well, we're still married according to this. You've certified that. Your clerk's office has certified.
How does that help with a $50 million house? Or is that is this a different subject?
Yeah, it's a custody case basically. Just trying to disqualify the judge to say that he was negligent, right? He didn't close out the accounts. So we're still married. She's married to somebody else. So she's a polygamist by contract. So
the trick is the marriage license had nothing to do with you. Had everything to do with your birth certificates. I mean, your social security cards. You guys were never married.
If you look on there, my signature is not on line 25 where it says groom signature.
Yeah.
And she told me, don't sign there because, and I think that was a constructive fraud. She did it on purpose. She said, don't sign there because you weren't there to sign it. So I just signed it at the bottom part during the ceremony. But I don't know if that matters or not, but it looks like she deliberately had me not sign it.
Okay, realize this. Nothing in the public has anything to do with us, the living. Nothing they do has anything to do with us at all, period. Nothing.
Right.
It's all a constructive fraud. Like, it's true. So I don't confuse myself with the fiction, with this whole public thing whatsoever, other than a power of attorney has authority over it. And it's not a divorce anyway. It's called a dissolution of marriage, like a corporation. When you do a dissolution of a corporation, that's all it is.
Yeah.
The marriage license is a business license, and it's insured.
Right. And it's
Everything
all
they
in
produce,
boxes too.
everything
Everything's in
everything they
boxes.
produce has to be bonded and insured. So that it's an insurance policy. I mean, you could use that marriage license number as part of your self-insurance policy for automobile or whatever you to do
Yeah.
as surety. But anyway, going back to the $50 million houses, just hit them with a stipulation. I mean, because if you can get them to stipulate that it's worth 50 million, well, fine, that's the W-4 amount. Or when they go ahead and resell something like that, I mean, they're going to come with guns. They're going to do what they do unless you can somehow really short circuit them. And it's kind of brigandy. It's, they don't follow the formalities. So if they go ahead and sell the house for 50 million, I go, oh, that's the alternate valuation of the house right there. See, it went for 50 million. Well, here you go. Here's a W-4, Mr. BlackRock, for 54, 50, W-4 for 50 million.
Well, these are land parcels with a bunch of rentals on them, so they're taking out $50 million mortgages on the land parcels that have 50 or 100 rental properties on them.
That's why.
So that's why they're
you know what?
take out.
I'm not taking. I'm saying my parcel is worth 50 million. I'm not going to use their description, and they can come back and bitch about it, but they're going to have to open themselves up to some scrutiny. Either they take it in the chops when I say it's 50 million, or they're going to argue about it and go to the IRS, and the IRS is going to wrinkle their nose at them, potentially, unless you can buy off the IRS. It's always possible. You see what I mean? The truth doesn't matter in this world. It's putting them in a catch-22 where they're going to take it in the chops, or they're going to admit doing a crime. So if we say it's worth 50 million, you have to get a stipulation from them, and then okay, it's worth 50 million because they're stealing these properties and they're undervaluing them and all these other things. See what I mean?
Yep, through the assessor's office.
Yeah, well, not even necessarily through the assessor's office. It's just getting them to stipulate to something outrageous like 50 million. And then if they don't like it when we hit them with it, once we have their stipulation, now they can go bitch to the IRS about it. You think they're going to go bitch to the IRS about it with all the graft they're doing? Open themselves up to an audit? You see why that's a good thing, right? To get them to stipulate and have them fuck themselves? Because they're not going to want to respond, because they'll have to respond, and they'll have to admit something to respond, and they don't want to admit anything, since we have them backed in a corner where they can't say anything. So we hit them for 50 million, and they're not going to say anything, and they're not going to know what we're going to be doing on the back end and selling that 50 million to the IRS on a W-4. See what I mean?
I was never able to find that 2373. I found all those other.
I know. In order to get the 2373, you have to come in there as a non-U.S. citizen, don't have a social security number, and you're asking on behalf of a foreign trust.
Okay, I do have a foreign granted trust.
No, you're pretending. It's a complete acting job. Or I'll just put it. Otherwise, I'll just put it in the room. It's fun to go. It's fun to do all these little tasks since you know you're going to get it anyway. It's fun to go make pretend that you realize that social security number and all these things really have nothing to do with you. Us, me, we. When people get on the phone, they start getting grilled. They start hesitating because in their brain they're still married to this freaking social security card in the name. It's retarded. And the clerk and this IRS person on the other ring can tell. They can tell if you're hesitating. You're not talking with conviction like I'm doing right now. I don't have to hesitate to think what I'm going to say next. And so, yeah, it's a good practice to see how much embroiled individual is embroiled with the fiction, whether or not they can pass this test to get a 2373. Funny. You see what I mean? To get see, it,
So when I do my cover letter with those other forms of 4810 and 10492, etc., and when I do those, with the cover letter request of 2373, that they do one for me or something.
I'm not sure what we're talking about now. You're going to get the form, right? You're going to put it as part of the overall package, right?
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay. Well, it's fun to go practice and see if you can get them to send you a 2373. I already have it. I already have it. I'm just saying it's good practice to see if the IRS on the other end can see your conviction that you don't have a social security number, you're not a U.S. citizen, and I don't know what kind of tricks they're gonna try. Well, what are you a citizen of? I don't how they're gonna try to tie people up, but if they've matured, if they've gotten more retarded, idiocracy. But it's pretty simple for me. I just tell you have a social security number? No, I do not have a social security number. And she says, so you're not a U.S. citizen? No, I'm not a U.S. citizen. They were really simple for me. But interesting if there's how much more retarded they've gotten. So I just say it's a general test just to go out and play. Role acting. You realize they moved the American Republic offshore, and I think it's down in there's a country down in South. I can't remember what it is, where they're neither Hague nor non-Hague. They're neither one. They're not a signatory. The election oversight. It could be Guyana, down there in Guyana, where remember they said there was Russian interference and Chinese interference in these elections. Well, there's some kind of compact globally where they get to watch each other's elections. So they were watching the elections. Whether or not they're tampering with a separate thing, but there's one country down there in the corner. Someone just told me about it, where they're neither Hague nor non-Hague. I'll find it out in this oversight committee, election oversight, and I would say I'm from there because it's neither Hague nor non-Hague. It's kind of like Andorra between France and Spain. There's a country called Andorra. It's north of Spain and under France, and that's where when they were having wars all the time, killing off Europeans, fucking stupid. They created Andorra so the noblemen could go to Andorra and discuss things, and not worry about their spies or infiltrators murdering off the noblemen as they sit around there while all their subjects are murdering each other. Andorra, and I think that's what that place down in Guyana, whatever that country is down there, it's neither Hague nor non-Hague. I think that's same type setup, kind of like a no man's zone where they can go around and not get infiltrated.
Kind of like the mafia did in southern Indiana.
Yep. It'd be interesting also because have you heard of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem? The Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. And when you look it up, and if you go to if you look it up and go to the Vatican.va site, Vatican site, and there's there's lieutenancies, and if you click on lieutenancies, then it'll show all over the world. All over the world, there's these equestrian orders all over the world as lieutenancies under the Vatican. And here in the United States, we have five. We have five different lieutenancies, I believe, 5 lieutenancies. And actually signed up for the Southwestern lieutenancy. So if they ask me where I'm from the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, Southwest Division. It's a separate jurisdiction, foreign to the United States. It's an overlay or an underlay, maybe even an underlay. Because the church runs all the prison systems. the Vatican's Office of the Major Penitentiary has a cardinal running it. It's right next door to the Office of the Inquisition that Ratzinger revitalized before he kicked the bucket. And so, and I've heard of people trying to get out of jail. They did their bond and everything like that, and the cardinal and the bishop came down there and checked on the guy that was supposed to be on all legal terms be let out, and they said no, and he wasn't able to get out of prison because the bishop and the cardinal said no. Who's running this place? Who's running this madhouse? It's crazy. So I'm actually part of the lieutenancy of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem Southwest. Have anybody looked it up yet? The Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem? No?
Is that the man who rides the pale horse?
No. These are lieutenancies set up by the Vatican all over the world. And I signed up for it, so now I have a foreign jurisdiction to step into if they ever get pulled to the task. You can see why would be useful, right? To be part of the lieutenancy, the Holy
Brilliant.
Sepulchre. Okay, thank you.
Very strange because, I just think of the Khazars riding and plowing through on their horses everywhere across this map. And for you to say the equestrian, it just rings a bell with the,
Except the
Khazars.
Khazars are kid fucking Jews, and that's the only difference. I mean, it's the Catholic Church is not much better, but the Khazars are not the equestrian order people. I guess they could have infiltrated, but they're complete, they're not the name stealers. The Chinese call them the name stealers. But I have a foreign jurisdiction to claim a place to be, since the American Republic was moved offshore in 1940. Since I'm one of the people, since my political domicile is in the 10th Amendment, as one of the people populating the American Republic, which is all offshore, it's all fictional. Well, if I can claim that political domicile, then I can also claim this statutory domicile in the equestrian order. Because I can't have statutory domicile in the state of Arizona, because I would have to swear allegiance to the state of Arizona. Why the fuck would I do that? The state of Arizona is a footstool. So I need someplace where statutory jurisdiction recognized. Like I have a political domicile, I have a statutory domicile. You see what I'm getting at? Are you guys following me? Are you feeling me? You guys?
I feel you.
Okay. Are you getting it? And because I say so works in this case, where my statutory domicile is, because I say so works. Why? Because I'm the attorney in fact for the all caps name, so I'm not linked to that bastard. So because I say so, the equestrian order, fine, I say so. Can they prove me wrong? My political domicile is in the 10th Amendment. Can they prove that wrong? No, because I say so. These are things that they can't intervene. But if I don't have anything to say, I'm automatically in their shit. Well, you're here, so guess what? We have jurisdiction over you. Because you didn't say anything else. You see the problem?
I'm sure there's probably a grant for that. When I look for under grants to save my ship from a tax sale, I found stuff for canoe grants, for exercise grants, building on your house, equestrian grants. So if we can get a free grant for 50 million, along with being in their little boys club on horses, their equestrian club.
Well, again, they're all Knights of Malta. They all, it's all that stuff. No, but grants would be good. I mean, you go to Vegas anyway. What are we doing? Huh? What are we doing?
Thanks for putting the equestrian thing in the room.
Is it the .va, the Vatican site with a little window? You can click on lieutenancy.
Yes.
So, yeah, because I mean, you can always do equestrian or Holy Sepulchre Jerusalem, North America, and they'll show them all there too. But I mean, you'll catch them all there. It's amazing. They're all over the place. And you realize there's an interparliamentary union, been around since the 1880s. The Interparliamentary Union. So all these parliaments all over the Congress parliaments all over the place have been powwowing on the back end, kind of like the Carlyle Group for all these drug running murderous military guys with their fancy little sparkly clothes and their sparkly little stars and their sparkly little uniforms and sparkly. Military is very gay, and that's why they like all that sparkly stuff. Ooh, Dickie B, I'm sparkly.
Pomp and circumstance, right?
And that's the Carlyle Group. You know the Carlyle Group. They all sit around and eat caviar and smoke whatever they smoke. For the military. What are we doing? Interparliamentary Union, the equestrian orders. I just wonder how many I don't know at this point. It's amazing. How can I use them to my advantage?
Utilize. We never use, we utilize.
So I can short circuit their system.
My little brain doesn't think that deep. I just want to be able to function right here on the little patch of grass.
I'm always thinking about FEMA camps. Driving out to FEMA camp. Oh, I see right here. Equestrian order right here. See? Right here. I'm not part of this. I'm not part of your little tribe over there. I'm over here in this equestrian order. Here's my diplomatic passport. Here's this and this and this and this.
Denoting who you are, so you have your papers, please.
Your papers, please.
Papers. How do I sign up for this bag club on equestrian horses? And do I need any horse riding skills? I'm from Chicago.
No, it's a religious order. It's part of the Catholic Church.
Knights, go into the chat and you'll see that Naz posted the link for it, and then you can look through it.
Thank you.
You can also just type in equestrian order, Holy Sepulchre, North America, Southeast, Northwest, Southwest, blah, blah, blah. And they have these Maltese crosses everywhere, and there's, vermin and red and white and da 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 da.
You just put the Carlisle group in for us. That was good.
Yeah, they sit around and smoke caviar and plan wars and do all this kind of drug running and human trafficking shit they do. It's just a game for them.
We're just chattel. That's all.
Well, I don't know if now if they could just find out where the Carlisle meeting, and then they could put one of their glider missiles out there and take out all the heads of state and the military. Boom. Oh, that would be beautiful.
I'd like to get the 3-year-old off the helm of the
send me
weather modifying machine.
Oh, Putin, send me a dream. Make it the biggest that I've ever seen. Please take out the Carlisle Group. Mr. Putin, bring me a dream. Because he's awful close now, right? Over right there in Cuba. Nuclear submarines, nuclear ships, right there in Cuba.
I just saw a picture today that said they're not here. So, I don't know. I'm on the other side. I'm on the West Coast.
No. Pictures of him sliding into Cuba, a nuclear sub.
But we're floating away. We've got a lot of rain down here right now.
Yeah. Being in Florida, bitching about the rain is so fucking retarded. Oh my gosh. I know it's raining a lot, but
It's like, be careful what you wish for. I've been wishing for rain. I just didn't know we were going to get it all in one day.
It'd be like me bitching about the heat. It's 108 degrees today. Yeah, you're in fucking Arizona. Stop bitching about it. It's funny.
The little Prius doesn't do these 2-foot ponds.
But so I signed up for the Southwest Equestrian Order. I joined up, enlisted my name.
So there was no conflict. You didn't have to go through like you did to become a Catholic.
No. I went in there and I logged in and put my information in there. Yes. Yep. That's all I do. Yep.
Hey, Smoking Baby. I have a statement and a question, if you don't mind going back to when you were like in kindergarten, sort of.
Okay.
Okay, my statement is I have heard of you for years, other people quoting you, but I've never actually heard you. And I've been on here for a while, and um, well, for lack of a better vernacular, I've had to mop my brains up off the floor. But
Why?
just, just you are so so far ahead of any person that I've actually wanted advice from or needed some type of guidance. So
Okay.
that's my statement. So basically, I
Thank
would
you.
have to say, long time hearer of you or know of you, but first time listener. So really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And my question is, and that's why I say about going back to kindergarten or remedial. I believe that this is a remedial question, but I keep butting my head. My mom's going through tax issues or insurance companies that basically send her a correspondence with numbers and symbols, and she believes it's a debt. However, my question is, because I've asked other people, and my question is, what correspondence or question can I ask that would either stop or
What
maybe
is she actually dealing with?
right now she's dealing with a strip of land that she bought in 1977. She lost her legs in 2015. I showed up here about 6 months ago to keep her alive, technically. And the strip of land, I picked up a certified mail, and the certified mail was dated March 29th. We didn't get it until, or at least I didn't pick it up until just shy of May. And I sent out
Mm-hmm.
a correspondence of specie of money type of scenario, because they were putting her property on the auction block because apparently she hadn't paid anything in the past 5 years since the
What
loss
state
of
is
her
it in?
legs.
What state is
California.
it in?
California.
So, but is California a? Is it just it's a lien sale? They do a lien. Is it? They're auctioning it for a tax for non-payment of taxes,
Yeah.
property taxes.
So she's here in the Sacramento area. My mom and my
Okay,
dad went ahead and purchased a property in 1977. They put it into
that's fine.
the Smith family trust.
Okay,
I guess
so
in the 80s, but I guess
okay, cool.
short story. Yeah, short story is she received through certified mail that you are delinquent and you need to pay $2,500 by I think it's June 4th or June 3rd, like the day before the auction. And I sent my correspondence out to him, and then he sent back a correspondence unsigned and didn't answer. I only had two simple
Why'd you
questions.
send to him?
I sent him a notice of we received this, or we picked up this correspondence on such and such a date.
Was it sent
We've
certified?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And I said, we are responding to your correspondence sent on such and such. We picked it up on such and such a date. And since we've never met face to face, we would like to, I guess, settle this matter through negotiation. And my two
Why'd they write
questions.
back? Okay. What questions?
Well, my questions were, what do you constitute as? I'm sorry.
Oh, you.
Yeah. What? I'm sorry. Yeah. What do you constitute as?
Species
Uh,
or whatever.
no. Tender of payment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're quibbling. They want $2,500. And yeah, they're gonna go, fuck these guys. We're gonna take their property. Look, we're the broadcast. We tell you what to do. If you have $2,500, I would just pay them, and then W4 'em.
Right, and she doesn't. And like again, I came back to the very last lap of the race, so to speak.
No, okay. So you go down to where's the nearest probate court?
Well,
Huh?
I guess in her town. I don't know. If
Are you
there's
there?
Yeah, I'm physically with her because she has no legs, and so I'm like
That,
cooking, cleaning. Yeah.
yeah, it's horrible. She doesn't have legs. I'm trying to arrange what to do. So if you're there, you can find the probate court, open up a probate case, and bring the property into the probate case for was it in your dad's name too, or the trust name and all that stuff? You could was your dad's? I guess your dad's dead or whatever too.
No, well, here's the skinny. It was put
Okay.
into a trust after they bought it. When they bought it, it was just longitude and latitude. Then at that point, at some point, they gave a address to it. My mom and dad had a divorce.
Was your mom? Did your mom buy it alone, or was there a man involved?
Man involved.
Okay, the man died, right?
Negative. He's alive, divorced.
I'm trying to get you into probate.
The probate court is downtown Sacramento.
Well,
it is. So I'm trying.
Right. Well,
what?
I sent him a correspondence. He sent back a correspondence without answering my questions. And then
who?
The tax man. And then
okay. And so what's the disposition now?
Then they sold the property.
They sold.
They auctioned off the property.
Okay. Well, leave.
Okay, so just let it go. I mean, I guess
they
I'm
sold
just trying to say.
What,
yeah,
did they auction the lien, or was the whole property now belong to someone else's name?
They auctioned off a tax lien on the 4th of June.
Okay, here in Arizona, you can have a tax lien, but it doesn't mean you get title to the property. It means you earn 25% a year or some ridiculous thing like that. I don't know that the property is actually taken from you until the tax lien person, if it goes on for so long, then they can actually seize the property. I don't know how it works in California. I don't. Like in Mississippi, I picked up a piece of property and I got a property patent because I paid the 1/6 of the taxes that were due, $1,000, and I got a property patent, and it's now my property. In other states, you can purchase a tax lien because it generates 12 to 25% a year, and to clear the lien, you have to go and pay the tax amount plus the percentages, whatever the interest rate that was accruing on top of it. So people invest in tax lien sales so they can get a return on their investment. I don't know in California whether or not it actually changes title to the property, or if there's just a tax lien sale and someone purchased a tax lien to acquire an interest rate on what the outstanding amount was. You see what I mean?
Yes and no. I was like, I understand the words, but I don't know if I'm educated enough.
If I were to, if I come in and pay off your taxes, $2,500 a month, I get title to the lien, and that lien generates 25% a year. And after 4 years, I can come and actually take the property. But you have 4 years to redeem the lien by paying off what the investor invested in. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do. I do know about that.
Okay, good. So I don't know if I don't know if they retitled the deed of the property into someone else's name. I don't know these things. But if they did seize the property, I would still go to probate, open up a probate case, because there should have been a probate referee. A probate referee should have been there to do the valuation of the estate. Oh, it's only worth $1. No, that's cheating the government out of taxes. So a probate referee comes in there and determines the value of the estate of that piece of property. See what I mean?
Yes.
Because you want to make sure the federal government gets their fair share of taxes. And I'm just doing my duty. And I'm just doing my duty to make sure the government gets paid all its fair share of taxes. You're doing I say that I'm here to do my duty to make sure the government gets its fair share of taxes. I love the IRS. I actually do love the IRS. And now that I'm
I
doing
do,
my duty about the taxes, it freaks them the fuck out because they know you're going to be reporting to the IRS.
and I'm 100% behind that.
Okay, good. Now we had to
Okay,
figure out
now,
whether or not the title to the property was changed.
yeah, because they've got, I guess it's not finalized yet, according to the information that I received. However, now, if we were to go back 5 years or 4 years or something to that nature, and if my mom, I guess my question ultimately is, in the event that my mom receives a correspondence from something and it looks as if there is a debt, what do you believe would be the best way for them to verify it, or for them to prove, or for them to, what statement, I guess, or what counter offer, or what counter correspondence would I send? Because honestly, at the end of the day,
Yeah, how much is the property worth?
uh, her little strip of land is 16 grand. However, she just received a notice from the tax man on the main property of $1,800. We just
No,
received it.
again, what's the fair market value? Not from the tax man. It's always undervalued because you don't get taxed on the full market value of a piece of dirt. They do some percentage wise. Um, is it worth 250,000? I don't know.
No,
I would get it
negative.
appraised.
No,
I would get
basically.
it
And again,
appraised.
I didn't want to rob the show, but here's a skinny. Uh, the land that she bought in 1977 was supposed to be there in like a Clear Lake. Okay, well, they shut down everything. The HOA is saying that you cannot build a home on it that's less than 1,800 square feet. The fire department said, based on the land, you can't buy, or you can't build anything above 1,000 square feet, because we can't handle the fire.
Sure,
So
that's a
she
problem.
has,
Okay, fine.
right. So
So,
she's got
okay.
so her property, she could not, she can never build on it.
That's not the
She,
issue. I don't care about any of that. I care about
right.
how much the shit's worth on the market.
Well, it's
You could
land that
take
you
a
can't
look.
build on.
Not the issue. Do you want to keep the
Okay.
property or not? Just leave then. What are we trying to solve here? If you want to keep the property, you could take you could get a loan, a land loan, and pay off the taxes that way. Um, and guess what? Guess what? You don't need a permit to put yurts on your property. A yurt is a tent. You're allowed to camp. You could put yurts that are 30 feet across and they're awesome. Yurt.com, YURT.com. And you could have a campground with a bunch of yurts, or you could live in a bunch of yurts. It's awesome. Uh, I'm trying to solve the problem and of
I get,
you keeping
okay.
your property. Okay.
Well, okay. How about this? Let me re-articulate. My articulation is, I believe that I did not have enough time to negotiate with these people before they sold the
There's
land.
nothing to negotiate. You're going to
Right.
pay it off. There's no negotiating. You owe the tax debt.
Okay.
Get a loan against the property and pay it off.
Okay.
And then put yurts on your property so people can go yurting. Is there any type of river or anything interesting?
Yeah, it's Clear Lake, California. However,
I
they
don't
shut
know.
down a lot of yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's Northern California. Anything north of Bakersfield is a shithole as far as I'm concerned, as far as California
Okay.
goes. So, and maybe even Bakerfield's a shithole. But so
Okay, so
um, I would.
basically you're blowing away the theory of, in the event that some company sends you some type of correspondence, there is no remedy. There's no giving them some type of response that shuts them down. I'm not talking about this property. I'm just saying, like, in general.
Dude, you're dealing with the taxing authority of the state. If they want cash money, then they're going to take cash money and they'll kick you off the property. We're dealing with
Okay.
tyrants here. There's no
Okay.
finesse with this stuff. Is the problem?
That's what I needed. Thank you, my God, for the love of all that is holy. Thank you, because I've been getting all this. Oh, well, you got to do like a true bill, and I'm like, a true bill deals with like
Indictments.
court and
That's
indictments and
indictments.
whatnot.
And
And they're like, oh,
the
bill
only
of
other
particulars. Yeah, bill of particulars. Dude, that's
particulars. Oh,
indictments.
dude, that's freaking retarded. The only thing you
Okay.
could have done, the only thing you might be able to do, is create a bill of exchange or a letter of credit, and take that into court and move the court. I don't know. Here you have to move the court to open a disputed ownership fund, and deposit the, I don't know, make it 50,000, make it 5 million, whatever, into the disputed ownership fund at the court, and because the court's a bank, and there, you have clerks and teller clerks and everything. It's a bank. The courts are banks, and the disputed ownership fund's an escrow account. If you look up disputed ownership fund, it falls under Title 26, and since it deals with taxes, you could take an instrument in there because we can write bills of exchange and they are money. And it's just a matter of the commercial side out here, the commercial side with its retail, anything retail is commercial, retail banks. Now there's private sides to Chase Bank. There's a private Chase, and there's a retail side of Chase. But so at the courts themselves should be able to receive a $5 million whatever bill of exchange or letter of credit, whatever you want to call it. It has all the elements in either way, whether it's a letter of credit or bill of exchange. And that should be able to be lodged in the disputed ownership fund at the court to settle the obligations for this tax liability right there at the state. That's a possibility. We'll have to get with you about how. Since you have an immediate need, it'd be fun. I could draw one up for you, and you could take it to court in good faith and say, "We'd like to lodge this in the disputed ownership fund to maintain a homestead." You have a homestead there, right? I hope.
Yeah.
No.
The main home here. Yeah, it's been homestead, but here in California, they just whatever the dollar amount that is assessed is minus $6K. But here's the skinny. Thank you so much, because I thought I had not done my own due diligence. I thought I didn't, do everything that I possibly could in the short time. And if I had talked to you originally, it would have been just pay it. If you can't, let it go. Because honestly, even if we were to win, she still can't buy on. And this is what I told her: you still can't buy on it. You can't.
What do you mean? You
build
on it?
You can't. Yeah, you can't build on it.
But you can with a yurt. A yurt is a tent. You're allowed to camp there. In Breckenridge, people had useless property on the side of mountains up in Breckenridge, and they thought it was useless. And all the hoity-toities, the little kid fuckers and blood drinkers go up there, and
Right.
and all of a sudden the people that own the property, they were putting yurts on their dirt, and they're allowed to because it's just a tent. It's a Mongolian tent house, and you don't need any zoning for a tent house. So yes, you can quote unquote build on the property. It's just a tent. YURT.com, yurt.com. Go look at the gallery. It's brilliant. There's also another yurt over in Montrose, Colorado, locally. So there's different. I have property in Kentucky and some other places, and I've always wanted to put a yurt on my dirt in Kentucky because it's near a lake and everything like that. I just haven't been able to get back there. So that's what I know about these yurts. And they're brilliant. They're Mongolian circular houses. They have toilets. They're awesome. And it's just a tent. You don't need a permit.
I'm totally tracking, and again, I apologize. I was looking for some type of this is a situation. What could I have done better, and in the future?
There's nothing.
Right.
You would, if anything, I would bring the controversy to court and just deposit a bill of exchange into the disputed ownership fund, and and I'll get one to you now because I've been wanting to do it here, but until this foreclosure thing's done, I have to make sure there's a place to live so I can pursue something else. But since you have the immediate need, I'll send over one for you, and you're going to do it in good faith and deposit this instrument into the escrow account, the disputed ownership fund, so that the taxes can be paid.
Yeah, because that would be absolutely helpful, simply for the fact that he's not going to be able to build on there within the requirements.
Oh my God, dude! You are so
you can put a yurt on there.
You're so stuck.
No, the property
single. They're in Cottage Grove, Oregon. They're awesome.
No, I guess what I'm trying to clarify is the person that won the bid is not going to build a structure there because it is on a slope. He's going to have to move about 9 tons of land that coincides with the HOA.
He could put.
So
he,
I
he could put a.
absolutely.
He could put a
Bill.
yurt in there.
You can put it
It's
there.
not the issue.
Well, yeah, absolutely. He can. But it's an investment.
None of
Down the
this
shore,
is
they
the
build
issue.
houses on stilts all the time.
Dude, everything you're talking about is not the issue. You're
Okay.
building on it, not building on it, but you don't even own the property now because you don't know what this lien's about. It's just
Mountain over Ant Hill.
Tell them
Yeah,
the
'cause-
land can't be leaned because you can't build on it. You can't lean anything on it.
No, it's not the issue. The taxes weren't paid.
That's correct. The
That's
taxes were not paid.
the only issue is settling the tax liability. And then you have a probate issue because it deals with an estate. And the probate referee has to be involved to make sure the proper value of the estate so that the federal government and California don't get cheated out of tax revenue.
Right.
That's the only thing that's important, whether you can build, not build, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. It's about taxes at this point.
Okay. All right. How about this? I am absolutely guilty of going the long way around the hand to get to the thumb. I thought you needed extra information and whatnot, and honestly, no.
No.
So please forgive me. So
No. It's just the meats and potatoes.
yeah.
The
All right. Well,
the utility. Yeah. There you go. So I'll send over. I'll post an instrument to you, and I would go over to the courthouse and maybe even probate and tell them that there's an estate that seems to be under some kind of probate. I'm not quite sure. There's some kind of taxes due, and I want to make sure the taxes are taken care of. My mom's disabled. Blah blah blah. And don't go into they can't build on her or shit like that. My mom's disabled. There were some taxes due, and being disabled because there should be some kind of disability thing that should have been taken care of. Some kind of plea. Who knows what the probate court knows? And
okay.
and then depending on how it goes, if they start talking about, well, how are you going to pay the taxes? Or say, well, I'd like to open a disputed ownership. Do I have to do a motion to open a disputed ownership fund? And see how you can open the disputed ownership fund there. Here, it takes a motion, but don't pretend like you don't know anything. It says, what do we need to do to open a disputed ownership fund? And then you would lodge the instrument that you have into the disputed ownership fund. And when you, as soon as it's lodged, get a receipt, or you maybe even have a copy of the instrument so that as soon as you hand it to them, you can stamp it, even though it's going to have instructions and limitations and what it can be used for on the instrument in the memo line. And then once that's done, let's say you did get the $5 million in there. Well, now you have this disputed ownership fund with $5 million. Now they're acting as your bank. And who knows? You can buy a bunch of yurts.
That's awesome.
And they're not that expensive.
Man.
No, they're not.
No. Again, like I said, I just long way around the hand to get to the thumb. So I just thought if I explained the whole thing, well then, but no, I really didn't need to. Appreciate you.
Okay. So yeah, the probate court would be the key thing.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Not to mention, there's probably some disability people out there. California has all kinds of programs, being so liberal, and for disabled people. Is she on some kind of disability? So SSI?
Yeah, she's on a SSI, and I believe that she has some type of retirement coming in from AT&T.
So because she's on SSI, there may be some protections as far as this kind of tax thing. There's some kind of deferment or something. I don't know if people usually don't go check on those things to see what kind of deferment you have because of disability. Because the disability creates an impossibility, and the law abhors impossibilities. So, oh, you lost your legs? Well, guess what? We're going to take your shit anyway. We're not quite like that yet. We're not like Ukraine where we harvest your organs while you're still breathing yet.
Right.
Almost soon. Well, some places they do that here, but it's not so pervasive. So it'd be interesting to find out if there's some kind of deferment for the taxes. taking into account her disability. And that would be a reversal policy, and the policy would reverse. See what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Man, I have no words, and I really appreciate you.
okay. Well, I want to. So I sent you a message, and I forget your name. What's your name again? Here again. It's kind of dark out here.
Well, my name's Steve.
No.
Authorization
What's
for-
your handle? I don't care about it. Steve. What?
I'm Stephen Remy Smith on your screen.
On my screen. Okay, hold on. My screen was dark. Stephen Raymond Smith. Okay.
Boom.
Okay, cool.
Well,
All right.
look,
Yeah, I'll
man,
send over. I'll send you over an instrument that works someplace else. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to share with everybody because no sense getting everybody all jumping up and down like Mexican jumping beans. I know that's racist, but yes, that's what happens. And let's see how this pans
anyway,
out.
Yeah. Well, hey, again, thank you very much, and with that, I yield.
Okie dokie. Rientap's in here. Rientap, what was that about that credit card you got? I heard over in the other room. You did something with the.
I got it from the county, and I have no idea really how I got it.
Okay.
I don't. It's one of those things I don't know what I did to get it.
Well, you just did a banana splatter. You just painted everything banana.
No. I mean, I don't know which thing that I did it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Did you do a surrender of the birth certificate?
Yeah. Well, I've written plenty of notices to the registrar, who is the custodian of the original birth document. I've had correspondence with him since 2009. And I've asked him to do things for me. He's done a few things, and then he's not done a few things. So, yeah, but it definitely the birth document.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you done the Proclamation 179 yet?
No. I've done the FinCEN.
You realize we're all, by default, we're enemies of the United States under the Trading with the Enemy Act, right?
Right.
Well, Proclamation 179 by Johnson, after Lincoln got his head blown off because he's a fucking retard, kind of deserved it for killing off all those Americans instead of just purchasing the slaves. He made a bunch of non-Jews fight each other, all the white people fighting each other, because his uncle's name was Mordecai, and he's Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, so I don't know if that was part of the things that pushed him into having white people kill each other in that lifelong Khazarian quest to take over the world. And so he could have purchased the slaves for less money than he blew on the whole armaments and killing everybody. And so when Abe got his head blown off, Johnson came in, and Johnson was. You realize Missouri was still murdering each other for years and years and years after that blood feud from the crazy Missourians, and Missouri's still a shit state to this day. It's just garbage. And so Johnson came in. He wanted to do some restoration. He didn't like this whole, holding people to the grind their teeth and with this bloodlust that was going on. So he came up with this Proclamation 179, where it's a Lincoln had his little proclamation, but it was gibberish. If you go back and read Lincoln's amnesty proclamation, gibberish. It's just fucking retarded. And then Johnson came in, very short, and it's called Proclamation 179, where it's a grant of amnesty and pardon with restoration of all rights of property.
Okay, yes, I've seen that.
But really, restoration of all rights of property. Not property rights. Rights of property, meaning your substantive rights are restored.
Right.
Yeah. And I did mine. I drew one up last a year ago, I think I started. And I was trying to get the military. I was trying to get a military notary. And of course, they're fucking retards here. Well, we can't give legal advice. I said, dude, I want you to notarize something, you fucking retard. It's like, you're not giving me advice. I'm notarizing. Anyway, so I did the grant. So it's a grant It's a grant of amnesty and pardon. That's the first part, with the restoration of all rights of property. So it's a grant deed, and the other part is the amnesty oath. That's part of it. And so I did two different ones. I did the grant deed, and then later on I came back in with the oath part. And when I recorded the grant portion, the fine gentleman at the satellite office in Apache Junction, Arizona, decided that it should be a miscellaneous filing, even though it said grant deed. It says grantee, grantor, President of the United States, grantee, me. And so he recorded it under miscellaneous. And then 6 months went by fighting, going back and forth with the retards at the military here, the National Guard here, trying to get one of those. I was even pulling up the regulation, the Army regulations and all this stuff, because I was hoping when I got the whole package done, I could hand it to the military, and the military would know where to go funnel this to whoever the alien property custodian is, because the military is in control right now. That was my thing. So I came in December 27th with my with my amnesty oath portion that I had done, and I came in with redo my power of attorney, because under section 131 ECFR 357, 31 ECFR with an E in front of the C, 357 talks about a power of attorney, a financial power of attorney that authorizes us to deal with the Federal Reserve. There's a special kind of language in 357, and I didn't have that in my. I don't know how many I've redone. And so I had to come up and redo my power of attorney so I can go talk to the Fed about doing whatever lodging instruments or blah blah. And so when I went to the Apache Junction place and talking about sequential numbers and how do we put all the numbers under one particular filing number here in this system they have here, and she was looking at my grant deed, and she was, what? Let me look at this. She said, oh, this is weird. She for some reason she wanted to go check into my paperwork, even that I wasn't talking about the paperwork at all. She's just being little miss ready to go. And she says, well, this really isn't a grant. It's not going to do what you expect it to. I was talking about having all my documents here in Pinal County under one number. So all I have to do is hit one number, and all the other things I've ever recorded all fall under that one number, is what I was hoping
It all shows up. Yeah.
And but had they told me that beforehand, it would have been that way. But they don't have any instructions on the wall. There's no tutorials even when you go in. There's fucking retarded. And so I was going back to talking about, if I have the original here, and if the original, how do the other numbers link to it, and blah blah blah, going on and on. And she says, well, and she would say something about it. Yeah, you can do that, but this really isn't a grant. It's not going to do what you expect it to. Kept going back to her little fetish about my document. And finally, I said, well, what do I expect it to do? I says, but anyway, that's not my issue. And finally, Mr. Boyd came over from the August of that year, who put it under miscellaneous. She says, yeah, see right here. And he came over and says, well, it can't be a grant because the president's dead. And I go, it's an executive order. It's an open-ended pardon. He's already been granted. I just have to accept it. Oh, but
Right.
He's already dead. He can't sign the grant. Brr. Fucking chuckles.
It's already implemented, though.
I know. They think, oh, you're to dig him up from the grave with his skeleton hand, like
No.
over in Disneyland, to sign something. So finally, she said, and he said, but the grant's not good. But this grant is not going to do what you expect it to. And I said, wait a minute. He said, you filed it under miscellaneous, right? This dude, you find it under miscellaneous, right? He goes, yes. I go, well, what's it filed under now? I asked the Mr. Go-Getter lady. She says, well, it's filed as a grant. And I go, well, who changed it? She said, Cheryl. I go, who's Cheryl? Oh, she's the chief clerk down in Florence. Florence is the seat of government for Pinal County. I said, well, if the chief clerk of the probate court of Pinal County says it's a grant, I'm perfectly happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
so I'm perfectly happy with it. So then I ran off, redid my power of attorney, adding that financial system, came back in, came back in, and when I came back to the office where they're doing all this rankus ruckus, the 27th of December, just before New Year's, just after Christmas, with all this cacophony of nonsense from these idiots. And all of a sudden I come back in to record my new power of attorney with this financial system in there. I come in there and it's almost like shiny, happy people. They're almost glowing and they're almost sycophantic and they're so nice and patient and their voices have changed. Their demeanor has changed. Oh, they're just sycophantic, fawning. And I'm going, what, would you guys just take some Soma? Did you guys, what'd you guys do? I've been gone an hour redoing a power of attorney and a certificate of validity in this little span of time. And I come at you, you guys are just transformed little shiny, happy people. And I'm pretty sure Cheryl got on the phone.
Yeah.
And read him the riot act about what was going on. And as I was driving away, because I recorded my certificate of validity too, I mean my and I said restoration of all rights of property, and that's when it hit me. My substantive rights have been restored, and that's why they were all so shiny, happy people. And maybe that's why your dude, whoever he is, the registrar or whatever, well, he'll do some things, he won't do some other things, because in my power of attorney, I also terminated all conservatorships, guardianships, and custodialships. And everything's been assigned. A testamentary will is in my power of attorney from the all caps name as a testamentary will, assigning everything, all rights, title, and interest to the appointee, the agent for attorney in fact. And so everything is devolved to me.
Mm-hmm.
In that power of attorney.
I have accepted the state of California's offer for me to be power of attorney, which made me attorney in fact. And I had that conversation with the registrar, and of course asking him the question: did the state of California register or record babies as property on birth documents? And of course he's absolutely not. They don't. We only register events, and that's the event of the birth of the person. You know,
sure, it's a birth event. It's a birth event because you have an infant. An infant was found, a child was registered, and the mom goes home with the baby, never to be heard from again. And so the birth event. What do you call December 25th? What's December 25th called?
Well, a lot of people call it the birth date of the.
It's called Christmas. It's called fucking Christmas. What is March 17th called? St. Patrick's Day. What's the 4th of July called? Independence Day.
Right.
So there's certain days that actually have a name instead of the 4th of July. Well, guess what? 101-630-72298 would be my name, my legal name, if they didn't name the birth event with some string of letters like SmokingBaby.
Right.
I'd be a number. And so instead of, and that birth date, the 9th, whatever December. So instead of calling someone by a number, they gave the birth event a name like the 4th of July. And so they created this fiction of the event, but so that was the birth event. And then the live, the live birth date, the date we popped out was like 9th of December. And then goes to the registration process. And finally, it goes up to the registrar's office. And the date it was actually original recording date was the 13th of January, December 9th to the 13th of January the following year. Mm-hmm. The tricky part is, and I wrote up a letter to the Secretary of State of Alabama where I was, and it says, a partnership agreement exists once the agreement is signed. A trust is done when the indenture is completed. Other corporations have to have a registered agent, or is the corporation exists when the incorporator signs the incorporation, when it gets an EIN, or when there's a registered agent. So different entities have different birthdays, essentially quote unquote birthdays. So what was the essentially birth date of this birthing event? And she said, it's the date it was originally recorded in this office.
Absolutely.
And so the birth date for the all caps name is actually 13th of January the following year. But the problem is when we put down our live birth date on the driver's license to that dead fiction, recreate a general partnership joinder with the living with the dead.
Yep. I made that point to the registrar and let him know that I understood that the birth date was 12 days after the day that I was born. And I had actually given back the driver license back in 2003. And
it never goes away.
I know it doesn't go away. And so I was speaking to him, and I didn't use it for 20 years, and speaking to the registrar, and he's telling me I'm looking in the system right here, and I don't see anything that happened with that person for the last 20 years. And I said, well, I haven't been using it for 20 years because I sent it back. And so he's like, well, okay, so I don't see any court cases in that name, and I don't see a probate case in that name. And he said, I got to go. He said, I got to go. Yes. And so I went down to the DMV and I got a California ID, and they put the very same number on it that the driver license had on it, but from, back when I was 18 years old in 1981. And so the birth date of the person that they registered was March 29th of 1963. When they gave me this ID, it was March 30th of 2023.
I'm confused. So what birth date did you put in there? The one you popped out, the date was the original recording date.
The day of the recording.
Okay, so they created a new entity in 2023?
Of March 30th of 2023, the day after the date of the
birthday.
So they didn't use the original recording date. They did a recording date plus a day.
Right. Correct. Plus the day, but last year.
That's so weird.
So the birth date is 2023?
Yes, March 30th of 2023.
I wonder what triggered that innovation.
They made a child of a child.
Yep. Because when I'm speaking to them down at DMV, I'm letting them know, of course, this is not my birth date. I was born on March 17th. And they registered the event of the birth of the person 12 days later on March 29th. And so when I got that, I received that new California state ID. It was for March 30th of 2023.
What was the birth date or the expiration date?
That's the birth date of the registration.
No, it says birth. So on your state ID, it says date of birth, March 30th, 2023.
No, it says March 17th, but on the SSA date of the date of that they made it is March 30th.
I'm confused.
I know.
I don't know what we're talking about now.
Okay.
I thought they gave you a brand new birth date for the dead fiction, and you put that birth date on your ID.
They just created a new child for the parent company.
Right. Because I hadn't been using it for 2 years.
Well, yeah, but it's still weird they would change the birth date, and if it really is the date of birth that we're talking about, and not the issue date.
Well, okay.
But an issue, according to the IRS, is a child.
Yeah, it's true, but
that's what the IRS calls issues. So it'd be a new child.
We're dealing with a vaginal expulsion versus the date the birth certificate was actually recorded, down to this new date, whatever this new date, and trying to figure what the trigger is.
But for instance, when I saw I saw the recordings for my my county birth certificate at the county, like in the book, right? And there was multiple. There wasn't just one. There's lots of them, all different dates being issued. They make different recordings for every single new, event. It's an event, right? They're recording the event.
I have an original recording date on my birth certificate. It says original recording date.
Mm-hmm.
If you in California, if you do up the application to get a birth certificate, and you write confidential copy in the margins of the application, I do all four of them, 90 degrees, confidential copy. You'll get a birth certificate, but the blank area that's underneath the blah blah at the top, there'll be extra information showing the original recording date.
Right.
So other states, if you want to do the same thing, write confidential copy in the borders, like California. It actually says it in the instructions of California to write confidential copy in the margins to get the extra information. And because that original recording date is a very important date. It's a very important date. And
I wonder if you
someone
could
went
do that
in.
with
They
the
had a
court
court.
case.
They had a court case, and someone went in there and brought in the record, shows the original recording date, and he told the clerk, "Oh, there's an error. The says the proper birth date is the original recording date right here. And we need to correct the record." And the clerk went ahead and said, "Oh, okay." She went back and came. It was back there a while, and she came up for it. She said, okay, we've changed we've corrected the record." And as soon as they corrected the record, the case went away because they could no longer dip into the back end because the beneficiary was standing in front of them and not the general partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm wondering if you can do that in the court case because they're very picky about always having those margins.
That's what I just
Yeah.
do. What on
Okay.
a court
I was
case?
just
What I just said to do, changing the birth date or writing confidential copy?
writing confidential copy.
Confidential copy, you write on the application to get your birth certificate showing the original recording date. There's no
I
confidential
comprehend that.
copy.
What I'm saying is I'm wondering if you can do the same. I'm just curious. Sorry.
No, I don't think. No, I've never seen anything in the rules of procedure for a confidential copy, other than doing a double envelope to write the judge privately with a double envelope with the clerk's name on the outside and John Smith doing business as judge on the inside, addressing the judge in his individual capacity, not his judgeship public capacity. Do a private settlement. Where are you, Kat? That worked for my nephew. Yeah, write the judge privately in a double envelope.
Well, I will definitely be doing the Proclamation 179. I'll get that going.
So first you do the grant, and then you do the oath, because you have to. They're two different documents. The oath is a separate form from the grant.
Okay.
Because my grant side, the oath side, was more or less a consent decree, in the style of a consent decree. Because I'm not swearing an oath to get a benefit. It's a quid pro quo. It's offsetting both sides. I'm not taking a benefit. The oath is equal consideration for what the president grants. They're equal value consideration. See what I mean? And so it's more of a consent decree. I styled mine as a consent decree.
Cool. Okay, cool.
Yep. We can talk about it more later. But they're shiny, happy sycophants all of a sudden. I hear that song in my head. Shiny, happy people, all the, and that stupid song from REM or whoever. That horrible song. Shiny, happy people. You know the song? I can't stand it. It's almost as bad as that Friday song. Friday. Rebecca Black.
Whoa.
A horrible song. Oh. Now it's in my head.
It's in your head.
I got a feed in my head. Hey. A Cranberry Girl, she died, right?
Yes, she did.
Yep. Trusted science. Oh, look at you trying to sneak out, you little bastard.
Hey, Renia, I'm just curious, did you request the birth certificate or the, whatever birth document for that new March 30th entity or person or whatever they created?
No, I was just thinking about that. I'm gonna make a trip to the registrar and I'm gonna make a trip back to the DMV.
What?
You know what I mean? That could solve everything. Because that's a new proper person,
That's the new birth date of the person. Absolutely.
It could also clog things up too. Yeah.
You know,
Well, but
there's
it's
a
in
power
the
of attorney in the DMV, right?
Yeah, well, I've already accepted their offer to be power of attorney over their person.
Which person is that?
The person that they offered me on that birth document, the one
I'm
that they
confused.
registered the event of the birth of
Oh, okay.
12 days after I was born.
I drew up our own power of attorney under the Uniform Power of Attorney Act under uniformlaws.org.
Right? Alabama.
Uh,
Look at Alabama.
Well, you go to uniformlaws.org. Alabama's just nice because it has commentary, but they have a new Uniform Act now in the uniformlaws.org. They have a new one coming out. I'm not sure what they changed, but so yeah, because if they're offering me to be the attorney, in fact, I don't want to work for them. I don't want to be fife and fiddle to answer to this.
It's just like
Then
if
why
you get
would
a
you use
driver
the
license and
uniform
you're
laws?
working for the state, then you get to charge them for whatever you're doing. I don't work for free to drive for them.
Can you double and get a salary from your employer while driving and then charge them?
State of California would be my employer.
Is the going rate $4,995.95 per
Whatever
minute?
you want. Yep.
A nurse just told me 2 days ago that when a doctor writes a letter, she said, "Oh, it could take a minute to write this." And she said, and they charge $5,000 just for a letter. And I thought, smoking baby, $4,995.95. That's just crazy. So we could basically just set our own price, set it and forget it, and they're forced to comply just because I say so.
W4. I'm just waiting to get pulled over by a cop and get to go in front of a judge and get him to try to tell me that I have to have a driver license. I want him to order me.
Yeah, because a person issued in 2023 hasn't served the years to be able to hold a steering wheel.
Do you think that's why we have like different stylings in our names?
Well, that's what we were talking about before, was the different capacities, and I want to do a chart with all the different capacities and all the different endorsements and what they look like. Because, yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways.
Well, and they put a new number with every single name that they create. Is that a different child? You technically have to have at least 100, bonds or offers to be able to take that to Treasury because they do them in batches, right?
Each name and number is a new vessel.
Exactly.
Is each birth certificate a new vessel? Like if I accumulate my 10 whole birth certificates throughout my lifetime, Are there going to be 10 different numbers
You're
for
talking about
my?
social security cards. You're talking about social security cards.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
there's not a
that's
limit
new.
on birth certificates.
I took my
There's no
middle
limit.
name off, and I told them I didn't have one. I just didn't want my middle name. It just didn't go with the flow. I didn't like my real last name mixed in with my middle initial. It just you know, it says BO.
Again,
I
I
didn't
want
want
my
that.
I want my social security card account to match my birth certificate account, to match my Treasury Direct account, to
Yeah,
match
you need to merge the titles.
the names being the same. Because you know the Social Security Administration legal name format is not the same as the Real ID Act legal name format. The Real ID Act says first comma, middle comma, last. The Social Security Administration is given name and family name, either of which can have multiple parts, but the middle name is not part of the legal name for Social Security Administration purposes. There's no middle name for the Social Security Administration, but there is a middle name for the Real ID Act. So the names are incongruent. If the names don't match, it would seem to clog the flow of any type of transactions happening in that name. See what I mean?
You know, it's funny you said something about that because I'm looking at Social Security Administration for it's a paper sheet that comes with the new card. This is from a friend's, and it had first name space space comma space space, middle name space space comma space space, last name space space comma space space period.
Well, if
I
you do
thought that was
the
curious.
if you do first and middle name in the first name field, and surname plus any other suffixes, junior, senior, the third, whatever, you get the first name, the given name on top with the last name on a separate line. So it's not a single line anymore. It's split. You have the given name at the top and you have the family name underneath it split. And I got the H when I did the name correction I used the SS5FS form, which is outside the United States. The SS5 is for in the United States. The SS5FS is outside the United States. And
the H I also found by reading through the Social Security Administration handbook. H is for disabled wages.
yeah, the H is a beneficiary status.
Well, it's for
Supposedly.
disabled, someone who receives wages as a disabled person in particular.
So the
But I also think, I also think that it actually corresponds with the Federal Reserve Bank
yeah,
that it's being issued from
yeah, St. Louis.
more than anything.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
What was I talking about?
But like you said, with the 10 Social Security cards,
Yeah, 10 on a
you
lifetime.
can get 12 with the judge's order.
Yeah, three a year, 10 on a lifetime.
Right. But 12 with the judge's order, if you get that.
Sure.
Approval.
Yeah.
There's 12 Federal Reserve banks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's a coincidence?
What was I talking about? The remember. As far as the driver's licenses, I was talking about it earlier. I'm going back and I have all my old driver's licenses, pack rat. So I'm gonna go back and get a record of my 15-year-old when I was 15 years old driver's license, and then bring it forward at minimum wage for 24/7. Or maybe I'll be nice to just do 8 hours a day from all the way back when I was 15 till now, and chart and assess minimum wage, because I was always ready to go. You guys, the fact that you don't call me up to come work and I'm on call, all ready to operate, well, it doesn't mean you don't got to pay me. I'm still on call, so I'm gonna go back and W4 the driver's license at minimum wage.
Should probably get an EIN for a household employer then.
Nope, this is not, the W-4 is against the DMV for hiring the Social Security number on that application. Any application tied to the Social Security number gets a W-4. That's my rule. Because they're pulling money out of the account, but they're not reporting it, because it's my job to report. So I'm going to do minimum wage for the drivers.
I agree with them pulling your money out. yeah, I found out with like T-Mobile, right? I
Hmm.
had done a over the phone payment with my social security number as the account and then EPS routing number as a routing number, and it went through. It was
The
for somebody
UPS.
else's
What's
payment at
UPS?
the EPS, Enterprise Payment System. It's
Oh,
basically it's for post office.
okay.
Yeah, and it went through, and they kicked it back 2 weeks later, which is way past any of the actual time frame for any bank transaction.
So they did reverse
So it
it.
took me hounding them for a little while. But well, if this is what's the interesting part is how they reversed it. Because I finally got there was no NATRA code on there for any reversal. There wasn't anything, and since I used a wire routing number, it was instantaneous. It shouldn't have been able to be reversed. When I finally got the number, I got what was actually on the account out of this woman. It was an FTC number that they had they put in a complaint with the FTC, lodged a complaint that a child's information had been divulged without that parent company's permission. T-Mobile was
That's
claiming to be the parent company,
that's
right?
interesting.
Uh-huh. But what already after just saying it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
And with
there's
what
a
I saw on the
infant.
birth threat, yeah.
Infants found, a child is registered, and the mom goes home with the baby, never to be heard from again. Mine's ready. It should have been done 2 years ago. A birth return. There's a birth. If you go into Google and type in birth return, you'll see all these birth returns that were out there. Where the parents would go write up the birth return, naming the baby and all the particulars, and they take it to the county auditor, and the county auditor would stamp off, the birth return. So now the baby is known. So the presumption of death happens because, oh, we got a birth certificate, but they're not doing the birth return like they used to do, but all the way back in the 1800s. So the baby's
I
unknown.
wonder.
Goes home with the mom and never heard from again.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I think it's very. I'm wondering though because what if because whenever they say every once in a while that you have a return payment or whatnot, what if they are doing it for that child that they've created?
Well, the
That company's doing the birth return?
child's a term of child and children are terms of purchase.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'm
so we're
talking
talking
about the
about
child that they create as far as an account. Yeah, they create that
I'm
account.
talking
What if
about
they're doing the birth return for that account?
I'm doing the birth. I write the birth return by hand. It's holographically written. If you go look at birth returns in Google, they're
I
holographically written.
understand.
Okay.
I get that.
I'm not
I'm
sure.
saying
I'm
I'm
not sure what
wondering
you're getting at.
if
They don't do a birth return.
okay.
The baby's dead, so they're probating the estate. The birth certificate's a death certificate, a provisional report of death certificate. There's a
It
code on
even
my
says that in Colorado, it's very transparent when it comes to that. It says any woman that is between the ages of 13 to 35 is considered unwed, and any certificate that has a maiden name on it is a death certificate.
So I was adopted. On my adopted birth certificate, which is a different name than the original birth certificate, there's a code Victor Sierra 34 VS 34 90 degrees to the left of the direction of the other print on the adopted birth certificate, and that code VS 34 took me years to find it. Finally did. It was in Kentucky Registrar Manual, and the code VS 34 is decoded to mean a provisional report of death. That's what the code means in the Kentucky style registrar manual. So the birth certificate is a provisional report of death certificate. So they can start probating the estate right away and start funding whatever they're doing. So that's interesting. Because if I hadn't been
Do you think
adopted, I would
maybe
never.
that's because? Sorry.
If I hadn't been adopted, I would never have seen that VS34 code. That's the trick.
Do you think perhaps it's because it's attached to the unemployment trust that's in Kentucky? Because I know
It's
that's the
what
one
to
as
what
far as
to.
the driver's license. As far as the driver's license goes, right? It's hooked up
What about it?
directly to the it's hooked up to directly to the unemployment trust in Kentucky.
I guess I
They
don't know. I was
adopt
born in
everything.
Alabama. I was born in Alabama.
Okay.
Kentucky is the UCC hub area, anyway, for UCC filings. Like Denver is out here, out west. Kentucky's
Yeah,
the south. I mean, yeah, Kentucky's the southeast. As far as the central area, you know what I mean?
yeah. It's just like they have the different places for master file, business
Hubs.
master file, all that.
Yeah, I like Kentucky's UCC filings in Alabama's for sure. Anyway,
Well, and I'm
so
wondering
anyways,
because the UCC it's kind of like an adoption or a claim,
no,
right?
UCC is a private company out of Canada. It's a Canadian company. If anything, I would use the PPSR out of New Zealand and or Australia. New Zealand's PPSR is more granular than the Australian's PPSR, Personal Property Security Registry.
And that hooks up into the Torrance filing because they're what I found with my birth certificate on the county level is they're actually recording. They recorded it as a mobile home, so
Yeah.
they could turn it into land or attach it to a parcel number because they can't
Well,
technically tax land, right?
no, they can't. Can't tax land. Well, they can't. They can't actually property tax. It's all ad valorem. They can't. So they categorize as commercial or industrial or commercial, agricultural, and then they try to tax it because of its use. But property.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to go back and not also that within the external boundaries of the state of Mississippi that was ceded to the United States of America. There's something about the taxes within the external boundaries of about what can be taxed. And so the property taxes are bogus.
Here, yeah, no, and I agree. Here, what they had to do, because it's actually in Colorado's constitution that you can't tax land, right? So hence why they they turned it into a mobile home because they can tax opportunities as anything added on to that land, like a mobile home. That's
Did
why
even
if you look at real estate law, like real
yeah.
estate law, they have mobile home is like completely separate. Mobile home parks and everything totally separate.
Mm-hmm.
Used to bother it out of me. I get it now because that's what they've for mobile.
But even then, it's the primary use of the automobile or whatever. If it's for family, it's for family household use. If it's for family household purposes, it's a consumer good, not equipment. So it's the primary use for family household purposes makes it a consumer good, and they can't tax consumer goods. So
But when it
that's the
comes to
piece.
like
But
trailer park, like the actual mobile home parks and stuff, in real estate law, it's a completely separate part from when you're dealing with houses or anything.
I had no tax on mine in Florida. They got stolen from me. Anyway, that a trailer park, half mile to the beach over in Largo, and I went in and had it. Didn't need a tag. Never got taxed the way I registered that mobile home and the title go over to me. Only if it's
Well,
agricultural, industrial, or commercial. It's taxable then.
and that's what I found. What they're doing is they're recording as a mobile home, but under a different parcel number and giving it a different classification that way.
Mm. You can fix it. Rebut their presumption.
Oh yeah. It's just more trying to figure out how they're applying it, just unwinding the puzzle, if you will.
I'm not so concerned with what they do. I'm more concerned about what I do. It's interesting to see the games they play. I like seeing the schemes they come up with. They're pretty genius, pretty good scammers. But
Times a bit, yeah. But sometimes I find it, if you know how they're acting, it's easier to set yourself up
oh yeah,
properly.
it's always good to see how they pull their scams, so you know how to pierce through it. But we always want to have consumer goods. I mean, if you're really using something for a commercial, carrying persons or property for hire, yeah, you need to be up to code with your maintenance and upkeep and lights and seat belts and all that stuff, because the innocent passengers need to be protected and the other people's property needs to be protected. That's just good business.
Right. Businesses are protected.
The difference between a passenger and a guest is that the passenger pays for the conveyance while the guest does not. Although the guest can contribute to the venture, it's not the primary purpose of the guest. So you have passenger planes, passenger trains, passenger ferries, and all that stuff. That's big.
Right. Requiring payment.
It's in paying to go someplace the other. It was in a Bouvier student law dictionary, old one. I was looking through there. I think it was about we looked up passenger, and it in the court cases section of the Bouvier's, it actually spelled out the distinction between guest and passenger. So if you can find a Bouvier law dictionary, it has a little ribbon in it and it's all nice and pretty. Much better.
Oh,
much
ribbons
better than
are
blacks.
bound, huh? Yeah, they don't go by blacks, they go by Bouviers.
It's much better than blacks, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
The Bouvier's student law dictionary. I like blacks 5. I don't like I don't like anything past black 6, 7, 8. I don't like the other ones. I like black 5 or less.
There was something that I found, funny enough, at a thrift store. It's actually the bar, continuing education bar manual for real estate and for title insurance, right?
Yeah.
And paid a whole $2.50 for each one of them. It's funny. But one of you were mentioning about property in there. These have all the back contracts that they do, that we don't see. And one of them was for an agreement for deed in lieu of foreclosure.
A what?
And
a what?
An agreement for deed in lieu of foreclosure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And there was 2 paragraphs in here that were the whole thing was interesting, but one of them here was, whereas, now it's manorial role, right? Borrower has offered to transfer and convey to lender or lender's designee all of its rights, titles, and interests in and to the property and all the personal property owned by borrower, including without limitation that personal property situate upon or used in connection with the property, the personal property, quote unquote, and to assign to lender all intangible rights of borrower, including without limitation all intangible rights of borrower related to or used in connection with the property, including the right to the use of the name blank.
Yes.
And any derivative thereof. Yeah. The
name.
intangible quote unquote property. Or intangible rights is what they termed it.
Now that is something a lawyer would write, because it's a total fuckover. Because there is no mortgage.
No, this is from the bar manual. Yeah.
But there is no mortgage. It's a retail installment agreement that we can undo at 18. So bogus. It's already paid for. Problem is you didn't get a receipt. No receipt for the application. No receipt for the deed for the promissory note. Fucking read.
Well, in the closing agreement, they put it through the VCAP program. That's what I'm finding. Voluntary Compliance Assurance Program or Voluntary Closing Assurance Program.
That's true. But you still didn't get a receipt. A copy of the receipt for the note or the application. The application paid for it. The note drafted against the escrow account created.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what they're doing with what they're taking with that, receipt, what they're doing with it, one of them is this agreement in lieu of foreclosure, because the bank has the receipt and they're going to be foreclosed on because they're all in debt.
But
they're taking it to
the problem is the person doing the mortgage doesn't get a receipt. They hand over an application and they don't get a receipt. They hand over the promissory note, they don't get a receipt or make one
I agree.
or get. And
I
so that's
agree.
where the problem comes in.
I'm saying that the bank is making one of their own,
They could be. They could be.
and
They
they're
could be.
taking it.
Well, yeah, they could be doing all kinds of crazy stuff because the application
Yeah,
itself
they're
isn't properly
actually.
negotiated. The application itself
Yeah.
is not properly negotiated.
hmm They're creating a $10
With a
million
pay,
bond out of it.
with a pay to, with a memo line, with restrictive endorsements, like you would a check. The application has to be exactly like a check with all the restrictions and limitations and everything else. Instead, we just hand it away. Here you go. Here's a letter of credit. Go ahead and do what you want with it. Nothing to see here. Move along. Barbara Brady.
Hell, if we knew how to endorse it properly, we'd turn it into a revolving letter of credit for ourselves. Right?
So that's the defect. Not to mention the original warranty deed, grant deed. The title company tries to steals that, so the grantee never shows up. Not to mention what's on the grant deed is the mailing address and the parcel ID. It's like I didn't purchase those things; they don't belong to me. I can't purchase someone else's stolen property. Where's the meets and bounds?
Well, and I found in the manual for the census how they create the address. It
Which
has the
address to
trust and
what?
everything in there.
What address?
Through the county, like the street address that they put to a property. This has the meets and bounds.
Well, yeah, there's always meets and bounds involved. The mailing address belongs to the municipality. It's the city's property.
Yeah, and they do that. Yeah, they do that through the census. It's in the I have the manual for it. That's how they attach
I
it,
don't
or
know.
that's how the municipality
I
gets
don't know
it.
that the census is, I think that city reports to the census. I don't think the census comes down and names the Santan Valley streets.
I can send it to you if you want.
I'll look at it. Anyway, I didn't purchase the mailing address because I can't take it with me.
What were the three things you said that you don't take or don't want with you? Pets, pictures, and what was the third thing?
No pets, no pictures, no pets, no pictures, and no. What's the other one? You just jinxed me.
I don't know. I thought it was another P, and I couldn't remember.
It isn't. It is another P. Pets, pictures. I can't remember.
Personal effects.
Nope. There's something else. It ties you down.
Yeah, it's a tether. And then you wound up with what, 6, 7 cats?
Well, they came here because they can follow the food because people are abandoning them to starve to death. Pregnant cats and shit. Sick fucking people.
The pets thing too. I actually found on some documentation referring to the plaintiff is in the minute orders. They abbreviated quote unquote petitioner to pet.
Mm-hmm. So someone's petitioning for the pet. Huh?
Well, the petitioner is the pet.
Well, there's a guardian ad litem or something in there. The trust
Right.
protector.
Well,
I have
lawyer in
I have a
general.
pet. I have a pet trust too, with a life insurance policy that funds the pet trust in case I kick the bucket. Will win it. In case I could be raptured out. That's true. That's a good hopeful thing. Either way, upon demise, the life insurance policy funds the pet trust. And then there's provisions and everything, adversarial roles between the veterinarian and the trustee with a trust protector in the middle, blah, 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 certain duties they have to do. Because the trustee would want to kill off all the pets and run away with the cash. the veterinarian wants to get paid every 6 months, and to make sure the cats are good. And then there's a proviso that you don't keep the pets alive longer than they need to. So there's a recourse for the trustee because the veterinarian wants to keep them alive as long as they can, which is abusive to the animal. And the trustee wants to kill them off early, which is abusive. And so there's a trust protector in the middle. So the animals aren't abused.
Well, because any trust is supposed to have at least 3 trustees. You have to have that protector, that indenture trustee in the middle as a tiebreaker.
Yeah, the trust protector makes sure the trustees do their job
Hmm.
for the beneficiaries, which of course
It's
is the cats.
funny the trust that my parents created for me. It's funded with life insurance policies on my dad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But those life insurance policies you can use during his lifetime.
Hmm. If you go to
Yep.
Rocket Lawyer, you can get a pet trust there, cheap. Rocket Lawyer.
Have you ever seen rocket cards or the rocket books that they have?
No.
You should look into those. They're very interesting. They're reusable, so it's a whole sustainability thing. But they have QR codes that are on each page. The index cards are, in particular, very interesting. They go back to they're linked to some very interesting recording places. They don't really sell them or advertise for them very much anymore. But
You also need to put together a gun trust, because transferring a handgun after someone's dead is fucking nightmare. So you need a gun trust, a pet trust. I see all these people dying of COVID, whatever you want to call it, whatever, and they have the picture of their dogs and everything, and they're dead. And I go, I hope they take care of their fucking animals. They could provide for, send them off to the gulag to be taken care of, put away. Ugh. What a horror show.
That's
well,
funny.
there's
There's one commercial on TV where there's a family sitting around at the end of one of their parents' lives, and they're giving everything away. And at the very end, it's the cat that gets the lake house in the will. I just thought of that when you said it.
Mr. Marbles, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep. Whoever claims the cat gets the lake house. Yeah. But there's provisos in there. You don't want them to kill off the cat right away, or just not take care of it, or abuse it in some way. Provisos in there. People are evil. Pets are good. People are evil.
Well, I agree. Not all people, but the
You put
the
two
gun
3-year-olds in a room.
transfer thing.
You want to watch evil manifest itself naturally? Take 2 3-year-olds, put them in a room with one toy, and watch evil manifest itself. People are evil inherently.
Oh, but you know what? It's actually watching 2 3-year-olds come to terms and conditions without saying a word is actually how I learned what equity is.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, it's true.
So it can go both ways.
People are evil. We're born evil. We're born fucked up on purpose. Devil's dirt on the outside with the breath of God on the inside. We're born with a conflict of interest.
Well, I think it's kind of like the whole AI thing right now. I think it's very much who that AI is around and what it encounters, learns from whatever its surroundings are, right? We do the same thing.
By psychopaths. It was created by psychopaths.
That's true. Well,
you realize who the maximum equity, whoever creates the problem must provide the remedy. So Christ died on the cross to provide the remedy.
Mm-hmm.
So Christ had to die because we're fucked up on purpose. As a kid, that's not fair. Just like the devil said, that's not fair. He says, well, God provided himself the remedy. He cured maximum of equities right there.
Yeah, if you look at benevolent societies, right?
I don't know.
They're constantly creating problems. Benevolent societies are
the complete opposite. Evil.
Things. Well, look into like the fraternal order of police. That's a benevolent society.
Mm-hmm. Bill Barr went and talked
to
them.
A lot of their retirement funds. Yeah. But
what happened to
back
what happened to the retirement funds?
I'm saying that it's a benevolent society. It's one of their, creating problems to provide solutions. But the ATF or the transfer of the guns, right? You're talking about making a trust for that?
Gun trust.
It's have you ever really gone through the ATF forms?
No, there's other ones out there from gun aficionados. Haven't looked at the ATF ones.
Well, I'm saying looking at the ATF forms that just I did out of curiosity because I know that that's one of the main portals or terminals that the courts use as far as accessing funds.
The problem is using their statutes gives the state a finger into the trust, so we don't want to use.
No, I'm not saying using their statutes. That's That's why I look at the forms and how they're operating more than anything, because that's what the forms and the instructions for their forms tell me is how they're working. They can pass as many statutes and codes and whatever regulations, all that crap as you want. Doesn't mean that they're going to abide by them, because 9 times out of 10 they don't abide by their own rules, right?
I guess they're outlawed then if they do that. So.
But found a few forms in the ATF. One referring to delinking. It's very interesting.
That's like the 363.26 or whatever it is for the minor account, delink under the Treasury Direct.
Except for you don't do it through Treasury Direct. That's the interesting part.
363.27.
Yeah. Yep. Minor account.
Yep.
My minor account's being managed by the Alien Property Custodian. That's my firm conviction.
Well, I think what I'm talking about actually hits right on what Reniak was talking about earlier.
What was
because,
that?
This is creating a new ID, like a identification state ID, and then that birth date being, that year. Not so much his,
When it was just
born
recorded.
date.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new record date, right?
Yep. It's actually on the card. It's a ISS date, the issue date.
And an issue according to the IRS as a child. Children can't handle weapons, right? Firearms.
Firearms are not weapons. Firearms are a whole different breed. It's a very
All
narrow
different
definition.
thing. Yeah.
Less than 18 inches, set off butt, There's firearms are its own breed.
Damascus barrel.
People, they throw it around like
That's
the
why I
same
correct
thing.
myself.
On the videos, it's just people, firearms. Like, rebut that shit. It's like taxpayer. Rebut that shit. They can't call me a taxpayer. That's a rebuttable fact. I am not the Sedicate Trust. We're not general partners.
Do we call a firearm a gun? Do we call that a piece of protection? What's my vernacular?
It's a self-defense tool.
Thank you.
A paperweight if there's no bullets in it.
Yeah, you could actually come up with your own term and just define it.
Yep.
As long as it's published somewhere.
A high velocity lead injection kit.
We call that a hole punch here in Chicago. That's what I identify it. That's the story.
You can create your own God. Like I defined sovereign citizen on my where was that defined? It's defined on my amnesty. I put it on my amnesty oath. I put it on my private credential. And any quote unquote identification cards are obtained out of necessity, removing the benefit, the waiver of the sovereign immunity by taking a benefit. So all these any acquisitions from the public are out of necessity due to the zealous nature of some of these mobile revenue enforcers anticipating what's commonly seen, who may become irate and engage in and proceed to maim, mangle, mutilate, or murder when their expectations aren't met. Therefore, it's under the law of necessity that I obtain these identifications, removing the beneficial interest and waiving sovereign immunity by taking a benefit.
You know, I found a guest ID to the Department of State and military.
What ID?
It's for a guest, international.
Oh, international guest, so they can go on base.
From what I can see, they can go pretty much everywhere. It's only valid for 1 year.
The twig card is good for 5. Mine's coming due.
But you're not classified as a guest on that, right?
As a twig card, I'm a DHS person. Have to wear a body camera.
How do I obtain a county ID? I don't want to go through my state. I only heard that there's county IDs. How do I obtain a county ID? I live in Crook County, Illinois.
I wouldn't. If it was another county, I think you could do something. But Cook County is just a freaking pit run by idiots.
Library.
Fucking retards. really retards. Amazing. Anyway, the county auditor might be able to give you something, I suppose. Register a trade name at the county level. So you're lodged there at the seat of government. And from the trade name, go get a letter of credit. From the county controller. Not the comptroller, but the controller. There's a woman who did it in Georgia. Got the letter of credit. Her name was Bliss. Maybe I'll post that in the room. You can listen to what she had to say. I'll go find it. She took the fence-in class, and then she ran with a fence-in class, did more research, and found all kinds of good stuff in Georgia. And her case went away, and mom's case went away, and the judge said, make sure you take care of your mom, because the mom didn't do what she did. So now the daughter's the ward for her mother.
How did she take care of the case?
She recorded a trade name at the county level, and there's some other statute. I'll put it in the room. I need to try to figure out where the parallels are here, where I'm at now. The trade name at the county level is a key.
Did you say that she was the ward or the warden of the mother?
The judge told the daughter to be sure to take care of her mother, because the mother didn't do the letter of credit and the trade name.
Yeah, and did the judge refer to the daughter as the ward or the warden?
No, the judge said be sure to take care of your mother. I'm saying because the judge said take care of your mother, she became the ward of her mother. Just because the judge said that, be sure to take care of your mother.
Okay, I thought you said that the judge said the ward part.
No, the judge only said what I said, which implies that the daughter's now the ward of the mother, because the mother didn't step up to the plate, record her trade name, and do what the daughter did.
When you say trade name, is that trademark or different?
Trade name.
Trade name, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that.
Because here in Arizona, I tried to get a fictitious business name or a trade name in my birth certificate name. No, you can't use that. You can't have your trade name for your name at the state level. They won't let you do it at the county level.
It's already a DBA.
Again, you can't get the trade name. You can record a trade name at the county level. I see them here in Pinal County.
Gotcha.
A DBA and a trade name are separate.
Well, And the same thing would do in the birth return at the county level for the county auditor.
What
That's
happens
the
when
seat
you
of government.
report taxes for a court case? Does it make the case get dismissed, or what happens? I've heard a lot of different things.
Well, first of all, did they get notice to the secretary that they're acting as fiduciary over the estate? They didn't do it, so it's treason. That's one trouble.
Oh, right. Yeah, you said you had yeah, I remember you said something about that. How do you contact them?
Who's them in your mind?
Well, Secretary of State, you said you have to contact them, right?
Other people send it to the court and ask the court where's their notice to the secretary, and the case goes away because they're in treason.
The administrator of the courts or the executor of the court. Executive of the court, excuse me.
They said they sent it to the judge privately.
Yeah, you can do
Wow. Do you have like any idea of what, like a template of what that would look like, or start
Yeah,
on
well,
that? Awesome. Yeah, I would love to try that out.
Is that Miss Pot Grower I'm talking to?
Right here.
What's your handle again?
Wild Tree.
Wild Tree, okay. Since you're in the heat, might as well see what we can do.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. You mentioned having like a letter for foreclosure as well. I don't know if you could send that, or whenever you get the chance, not right now, but
But you've already been foreclosed on, right?
no, the sale date is coming up June 24th.
What did I say I was going to do? It's been a couple hours now. Well,
I think it was a letter to. You said I can send a letter to the foreclosure company,
secretaries,
and it'll shut. Yeah.
I would also, because it's a non-judicial state, and there should be a probate referee determining the value of the estate. So you could go to the probate court, and that they're foreclosing on your estate, and estate is a bundle of assets, and so you could open up a probate case, and you could even have you done the H8 and the H9?
Well, I sent a qualified written request
So you did
and
not.
asking them to send
So you did
me.
not do the H8 or the H9.
Well, no, not yet. I asked them to send me the form.
You go find it yourself. They're not going to send it to you.
Yeah, they sent me a nice letter back stating why they wouldn't give it to me, basically.
So that's an obstruction right there. You can find the H8 and the H9 out there. H-8 and the H-9 at Federal Register.
Yeah, I forget. One of them is for refinance and one of them is for purchase. Do you remember which one?
H9's a refi.
Okay, H9 is a refi. Okay, so that's what I would need.
Well, you're going to do the original too, eventually. Cancel all those things, get it all back. Because you realize every time you do a refi, you're issuing a brand new set of currency, and it's a wraparound on all the. It pays off the prior one as well, so you get the prior one and the current one for each refi. It's a brand new issue of credit and brand new currency. You can claim all of it. The W4. The W4 for the note.
God,
the W4 against the servicing company, and a taxable termination on the value of the fixtures. That's the court. So you have the note holder, the servicing company, and the court. If they're going to terminate your interest, which is the fixtures, the total value of that fixture is their liability, but they're acting as it's because someone had to sign off on this foreclosure, right? It has to be some kind of sign off, right? By somebody.
I think maybe the attorney general or something, or maybe it's just the local courthouse. I'm not sure. But as far as going into probate court in the local court, I don't think that would work very well because I've seen every single judge. It's a small county and they all hate me.
So someone had to sign off on this non-judicial foreclosure, right? some kind of seal from somebody making it official.
I mean, maybe from the trustee of the lender or something. I don't know.
But they have to get a court sanction on it to make sure it's all done properly. There's some court involved somewhere.
Well, there is a court case number, even though it's a non-judicial state. That they have like a case number, and I found out that's a court case number essentially.
And so that judge would have to have notified the secretary under 6903 that they're acting as a fiduciary, administering the estate.
Okay, so I would send the letter to the clerk of the court or to the judge, because I don't know who the judge is, because it's
I would send it
non-judicial.
to the court administrator, addressed to the individual doing business as judge in a fiduciary capacity, and have it passed along and make copies of it all. And
But how do
also,
I find out
and
who the judge is?
you let the clerk do that. Just say whoever the.
Oh, okay.
So the outside's addressed to the clerk. The inside envelope's addressed to the individual doing business as judge, magistrate, whatever terms you want to come up with, judge, magistrate.
Okay,
And,
so you don't have to put their name, you just put the title, basically.
yes, the individual doing business as judge / magistrate, case number 12345, and then the letter would be inside there. And then, but you're going to CC, but it's not just to the judge. You're also doing take to Selective Secret Service, FBI, Department of Justice, the Office of Comptroller of Currency, the local provost marshal, and I would send them all a copy of this letter.
That's a great idea. And you've done this before, and it stopped a foreclosure?
So Derek's done it before, destroyed a case. They had all these suits out there. The judge was freaking out. They had more agencies in that courtroom just lined up watching this biatch doing all kinds of shenanigan stuff until she was back against the wall. She made everything good. Everything went away. But all these agencies were watching her in the grift and scam they were doing, because they're committing treason against the United States by not including the secretary so that they can pay the taxes due to the United States. They're pirating. They're committing piracy as far as I'm concerned. It certainly is treason. Because if you go to Title 2,
I was wondering what is a clerk of the day? I heard a man, Tony, he said you find the clerk of the day in the courthouse and you submit your paperwork to the clerk of the day. Do you know what that is?
No, but that would be worth trying. Yeah, if you look up Title 28, Section 455, you go down to number 4. This is disqualification of a judge. It talks about the disqualifications because they're acting as a fiduciary, and he should know what financial interest he has, and blah 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 blah. And this ties into the 6903 and the 7603 and the 6903. 7603 is for summonses, and it goes right in line with the 6903 when I did my research into the public laws behind it all in the Federal Register. Because they kept mentioning 7603, and then I went in there to talk about summonses. So anytime there's I guess the summons is the real money as far as fiduciary. That the 6903 talks about being a fiduciary, and the Title 28455 is disqualification, and what disqualifies a judge. And a judge can be a de facto judge or anybody, even the attorney. The attorneys get involved in that stuff too, advising the judge. That's also treason. And I would send it to the chief judge also of the court, whoever the chief judge for that court is. Because the chief judge, if he doesn't report it, it's a misprision of felonies. It's a cover-up. So you get all these people looking at each other. So make a timestamp of whatever the timestamp is on the recording right now, so you can know where to go. So listen to this whole blah 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 again. I did it at the beginning. I'm doing it here at the end.
I found the cover to the letter, by the way. It was June 7th is when the stamp on the letter was.
on the envelope?
Yeah, so but it arrived today, and then the court appearance was that I was supposed to make was on the 10th of June.
So that's a denial of due process.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you're still going to go do the magistrate thing, or somebody's going to do the magistrate thing for you. That's separate from everything else, right? You're not the foreclosure person, are you?
Oh well, it's the same.
Oh,
I
okay.
have both.
Why they're foreclosing
What-
on you because of the pot thing?
Well, not directly, but indirectly, that's
Yeah.
yes.
They're doing a vendetta against you.
Yeah, you might say that.
Yep.
Although I'm sure they're
Lawfare.
just doing their job, you know.
She never asked
but
when that property was ceded to the United States.
I know. That's I need to get that in the room. I know it's over in my room in We Are Law. It's Fam Guardian within the external boundaries, within the external boundaries of the state ceded to the United States of America. So if you put something like that in there, fam, and limit it to SITE famguardian.org. You know how you can limit the search in Google by putting SITE famguardian.org, and then you can I would put everything you want to search for as far as words within the external boundaries of interior to the state of Mississippi, ceded to the United States of America, CEDED, and then put SITE famguardian.org. And it's like tax scam is one of them, FamGuardian tax scam, and there's a longer URL for that. But that's how you limit your search to just FamGuardian's website using SITE : and not www, just famguardian.org. Or a lot of times I go to the
.org, you put asterisk, and then everything comes up, whether it's .org, .com, whatever the heck, whatever it is.
problem
An
is,
asterisk will fill in the blank
it's
for
true, but
any character.
we're not doing that. We have specific words inside FamGuardian that goes directly to the tax scam, talking about property taxes and things like that, and talks about it has to be ceded to the United States. In America, when they don't have jurisdiction to touch it. It's a problem. But that's about property tax particularly. But it'd be interesting to ask them when it was ceded to the United States of America. One piece. But as far as the H8 and the H9, the fact that they're cheating the government out of taxes by not contacting the secretary under 6903. And they should all be bonded under 2332A E11. They should be bonded for that because there's a special lien on the estate under 6324. There's already a lien against the estate. The federal government has a lien, priority lien from that $9, $10 import tax of that birth certificate in the United States. So there's a priority maritime lien in the interest of the United States, and they're cheating the United States out of tax revenue. That's the denial of due process. It's not your due process, it's the United States due process, because they're IRS and the United States are indispensable parties. They weren't called in, so they're bypassing, pirating. I call it piracy anyway. Engaged in piracy, tax evasion, money laundering, securities fraud. And you're there just because you want to make sure everyone has paid their fair share of taxes. After all, we all wish to be in voluntary compliance with internal revenue laws, which I'm fairly certain they are not. So I need your help. Make sure the United States is not cheated out of its tax revenue. Dare not call it piracy. It's a death penalty offense for piracy. Anything earmarked for the United States doesn't get there as piracy. It's a death penalty under Title 18. I just want to make sure everyone pays their fair share of taxes. because that makes me noble.
Well, that's what I don't understand with the whole reporting, you know, a court case or whatever to like for the taxes or the unpaid taxes. It's like, why would these courts not be paying the taxes?
Because they're bar attorneys and they have a duty blood oath to the bar city of London.
Yeah, but if they're all about the law, why wouldn't they pay their
They're not
taxes?
about
You
the
know?
they're the bulwark of the Communist Front in the United States. The bar guild, the American Bar Association.
Yeah, I guess that's
They're
true.
here. They're here to blunt. They're here to plunder on behalf of the crown in this temple city of London. I'm coming in. I'm coming in. You crazy cat. You crazy cat.
So I put in the chat something from Family Guardian about territory or within the exterior boundaries. It's
Okay.
under federal jurisdiction within state or territory, which would be territory or other property belonging to the United States within the exterior boundaries of whatever that state is that is used for the erection of forts, arsenals, magazines, dockyards, and other needful buildings.
They talk about property taxes, right? Is that what we're talking about now?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I transferred my property to a private trust as a fee simple homestead, and which I was
they pierced it.
well, I was told that should get the property off the ad valorem tax roll, and I called the county and asked them about it, and they said that they don't recognize homestead, and I questioned the clerk a little bit further about that, and she said, well, we give an exemption. It's a $7,000 exemption, which ends up being about $70 off your tax bill. And I said, where did you come up with that number? And she said, oh, I Googled it and it's the first thing that came up. Because I asked her, I said, where, I was like, where in the tax code is, you know, like, where did you get that information from? I couldn't believe that. And then I said, well, it's supposed to be a full exemption. And she said, well, I don't see where that, you know, where that's true in our tax code. You know, she said, can you show me where that is? And I told her I would look into it and get back to her.
Well, they can't tax it. That's the problem. They misclassify it and do wrong things until they get called out on it because they don't know anything. It's like the IRS; they don't know anything.
But I think she was open to if I point her in the right information. Like, I don't know, she seemed open to considering it, but I didn't have the right information to give to her. So I didn't know if anyone here might know, but
That's the first one. Ceded to the United States of America. Especially in California. California is one of the first ones that comes up.
but is that directly related to like a homestead status for a property or?
There's a trap about homestead. Homesteading has a trap to it because they're taking a benefit or something. I can't remember. I remember reading something about it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In 111 through 127 of the State of California Government Code, under territorial jurisdiction, they have lists of the statutes that state what the lands are that are within the exterior boundaries of the state of California that is territory or other property belonging to the United States that was ceded or retroceded to the United States back to the state of California. And if your land is not on those lists, then your land is not in the state of California.
Mm-hmm.
And I've posted it many times in the group. 110 through 127 State of California Government Code.
Come on. Come on. What?
If they don't own it, they can't tax it.
Tax it. That's right. Which is the reason to throw the parcel ID and mailing address off the fucking deed.
Right, but my question earlier with my mom thing, and you said pay it. You're going against a municipality. You're going against the state of California outside of California state, the republic.
Yeah, but that land is not in the state of California. Because it's not on those lists in 110 through 127 of the State of California Government Code under territorial jurisdiction.
All that's true. The reason yours is so exigent is because they've already done it. That's my problem. That's what my issue. They've already gone to war with you, and they're intent on taking it because now they have some liability in the game for doing the shenanigans they did. So we have to cure their problems so you can cure your problem. That's how I look at it anyway.
Okay. Well, how about this? How about this? Here's my next question.
Say it again.
Here is my next question. In the event that I receive a correspondence with symbols and numbers, I believe that they own the symbols and the numbers, but it doesn't make sense that they own the dirt or vegetation or the squirrels or the raccoons or what actually makes up the property. Because it seems to me that it was a longitude, latitude when my mom and dad were like, oh, okay, cool. This is land in 1977. And it wasn't for 17 fucking years until they're like, oh, well, we've reclassified it as, blah, 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 Del Monte Way.
Do you have a mailing address tied to it? And do you have a parcel ID tied to it, tied to the deed?
To the deed, no. That shit came
What's on the
later. That came like 18 years later.
So what's on the deed?
Longitude, latitude.
We haven't called them out on it yet, then.
No, I haven't because I just was aware of this.
I'm not accusing you, dude. I'm not accusing you.
Right. Well, when you say, well, you haven't called them out on it, I'm like, well, you're right. Absolutely correct.
I'm just identifying the problem so we can bring up a cure. It's not personal. In the meantime, if they're already held at, if a tax lien sale in California actually transfers title of the property, what is it? $2,500, you get a $16,000 piece of property. It's retarded. Especially when it's a tax lien sale versus a foreclosure mortgage or something like that. That would seem like an overreach by the state.
Right, but also at the same point, I look at, well, what man or what woman is claiming something, and it seems to me that this tax assessor is not a G10 or G11 or above. And when I sent out my correspondence, can you verify it? Can you verify under, or I'm sorry, can you verify at open court under oath or affirmation that you verify this alleged debt? I got nothing.
Well, they're not going to help you. They're hell bent on stealing it. That's why I just say pay it so you can get breathing room and come back and get it on the backside. Fix it on the backside. What?
And I guess my question would be, how can I fix it on the back side if I were to ask the other people questions and then they just don't answer it? I just don't understand
But you have
I
to go
won't
to
say
litigation.
understand. I'm sorry.
You have to go to litigation
Right, but
to compel that.
right, but at the same time, I'm going through a court that is not. I'm looking. Okay, how about this? I just feel like, let's just say I were to move forward, which I'm not, because honestly, this is not my duck to fuck. But what I am saying is, well, let's go through litigation and litigators. At the end of the day, my question is, what man or woman can verify the claim that there is a debt at all?
The
And
fact
then
that
it's
it
like,
wasn't
well,
the fact that it wasn't protested at the beginning.
What's that?
The fact is presumed unless it's rebutted. UCC 1-206. That's when you see price silence is acquiescence and all that kind of shit.
I guess my question is, if, literally back to my original question, if a entity, corporation, it doesn't matter, I were to receive a correspondence saying, with the dialogue of numbers and symbols, words of debt, and to pay, what would be the greatest response that I could give to these people? Because at the end of the day, they have no firsthand knowledge of my mom. They can't pick her out of a crowd. And honestly, at the end of the day, I can't pick out my own mom out of the crowd. They're asking for some type of compensation. And when I ask them, well, great, fabulous, wonderful, I will give you whatever compensation that you want. Upon what is it? Moon rocks. Great. How can I get that? Well, you got to get in a ship and fly.
Yeah,
What I mean?
you're doing what is a dollar and all that kind of thing.
No, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is, I'm not doing that because I believe that that is as futile as not giving them some type of check, cashier's check, money order, cash, coinage, whatever. I'm just asking if the Constitution of the state of California clearly says in Section 6 that the Constitution of the United States is the law of the land, and then the law of the land, and blah, 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 blah. Like, how am I supposed to perform? Because I can't get a simple answer from these people upon which I can perform it. It's like, we want money. Great. Lovely. What do you constitute as money? But under Title 18, Section 8, or Title 12, Section 411 or 412, that, man, like, give me a solution to this.
Okay. Well, you keep running down that road, they're just going to take it and kick you off the property. If they can actually take the property and not just sell the tax lien at 25% a year increase.
Right, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is this. Is it not true? And tell me it is not true. That is dirt. It is longitude. That shit was paid off and given in some type of monies that satisfied the fucking debt. And then years later, they overdrafted or said this is it from the tax assessor's office. It's APN, and it's got certain lines and it's got certain things or whatnot. But I guess my question is, are they asking for property taxes based on the shit that they created versus the actual dirt?
It's based upon the primary use of the property. It's now either agricultural or commercial or something like that, where they can actually tax it because it's commercial, as opposed to not being commercial. And it wasn't rebutted when it happened, and so now it's sticking until you go back and correct the presumption. But you're out of time for that at this point, unfortunately. Your parents didn't object to it back then, so now
Of course
presumed
they did.
still to be a fact.
Right. Of course they didn't, because they have literally.
I'm not accused.
Right. They
I
didn't.
I don't care. I don't care why they did it. That's just the problem. I don't why they didn't do it. Not the issue. The problem is that it wasn't done, and so now there's this presumption sitting there, and they're acting on the presumption, but just under the gun at this point.
Right. So I guess my question is, before all of this shit happens, before the presumptions, before the overlay, before the whatever, before a tax assessor who apparently hasn't done the tax assessment under a 6B6, or I'm sorry, a 686B, before he's actually put in paperwork that somebody wrote that he says, yeah, that shit is true and correct, that there is no power of attorney of one man signing the document for another man, before all of that type of stuff happens, what would be the best route for, let's just say, my mom or dad to buy property? What would they
I
need
don't
to
know.
do?
I really don't know. They probably sent out a notice to everybody, and they didn't rebut the notice, and so it stuck. You can always go back and correct the record later.
Right, but how do you do the record correctly?
You
Like,
state
if
the
you were to
primary
buy,
use is for family household purposes.
so there is a way to do it correctly.
By stating the primary use of the property is for family household purposes as a consumer good. They
Now,
probably
in order
presume it's
for,
agricultural or something, some kind of.
I just feel like I'm in a snowstorm, or a snowstorm is happening. And in order to survive the snowstorm, you need boots, you need pants, you need gloves, you need hats, you need food, you need water. You know what I mean? And I believe that, I don't know, 95% of the people that talk to you are already in the snowstorm. And I get it. Well, hey, snowstorms are taking place. So I guess my question would be, well, how do we prepare for the snowstorm, i.e., how do we, I guess, successfully purchase land or successfully purchase some type of property or successfully do things correctly so that you're not, in your words, got a lawyer putting his dick in your ass?
No, Stephen, I've given you a link to all of the questions that you just asked. I gave you your snow boots, your repellent, everything, your hat is right there in that last link.
Oh, you did? Okay. I apologize. I apologize. My bad. My bad. My bad. Let me back up. I was unaware. My apologies. Frustrated.
Everything's there for you. You just have to listen to it and read along and watch the classes of those territorial jurisdiction student lessons. It'll tell you everything that you need to know.
Well, if you have given me that, I don't know how I can rightfully compensate you.
Oh,
but thank you.
You can compensate me by reading and listening and watching them.
Okay, well, thank you. I have not yet, hence my Viking tribal. What do we do? So I apologize. I apologize.
Is one of the things in the packet, Ren, is it reading the UCC?
No, has nothing to do with the UCC. It's understanding where you are and where you're not, who you are and who you're not. And
Where you are and where you're not.
Like smoking baby has said so many times. It's what is that land classified for? What's the usage of it?
Mm-hmm.
Who owns it? Does the state of California own it? If they don't, if it's
They-
not territory or other property belonging to the United States within the exterior boundaries of California, then they don't have jurisdiction over it.
Yeah.
When was it ceded to the United States? Never.
But if it's producing some kind of commerce or something like that, the state does have an interest in the commerce that happens on it. And that's where the
Right.
blur happens.
Right. But if it's used for household goods, household purposes, then they've got nothing to it.
You can't tax household goods. You can't do an ad valorem.
Yep.
What about household cannabis?
Absolutely.
It sounds like the whole point of how this is done is by paying the currency that is due, and that is your attention. And that seems to be the truth of the matter. Just doing due diligence and getting into the subject matter. And wow, I tell you, certainly it's being done here. It's amazing. I love it. Thank you.
Okay, it's time to go to bed, kids. Oh, look at you guys. Look at you guys. How are you? How are you? I'll turn off the light now. Okay. Okay. Oh, so many cats. Too many cats. You put those in this room, Rentap?
I will do that right now, but I send them directly to Stephen. But it's the territorial jurisdiction classes that Boris and I and Lex went through.
I haven't done the opportunity to dive into it myself either, retardedly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll put them in there right now.
You gonna show off for me, huh? Strong guy.
There you go.
That's sweet.
There's
Thanks.
11 lessons to get through, plus there's about 30 more that go with it. But those first 11 lessons are in 13 calls.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Boris and Lex. They did it. I just wrote along with them. Of course, I'm the one that gave it to them, but that's okay.
It's a collective effort. I mean, it took how many thousands of brains to think of the scam?
Oh, man.
More brains and more.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Renty. I did get it.
Cool.
Look, here's a skinny. Whatever has happened has happened. I just don't want it to happen again. And I appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Welcome.
Has anyone done a tax lien sale in California?
No, I would do it if I had a property, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it right now because I'm dealing with my mother's property.
Well, if you go to the Secretary of State's website and look for tax lien sales, they'll give you the lowdown on how it works, how they purchase the tax lien and what percentage rates they get, and the redemption window. It's just only one I know is in Mississippi, where they handed me the property patent. I got a property patent from the Chancery Court, and Mississippi has Chancery Courts, and I actually got a property patent. It's now actually my dirt and my name and everything like that for that unpaid tax lien. So that's how Mississippi works. I don't think California would work like that because of the wealth involved and everything else. You know, you don't pay your taxes. You know, take a multi-million-dollar mansion or something silly like that. That seemed to get some pushback politically.
Yeah. We have a notice and demand already made up for taxes through the territorial jurisdiction challenge.
Is that in the first 11? Or is that the
no, that'll be something I will send directly to you. It's something Lex put together.
That's sweet. Not to mention the tax liability for the transfer taxes. That's the good part about having people specialize in different things. Really good this one, really good at that one.
Yep.
Because learning it under the fire, it's like, oh.
Oh man, yeah.
Having turnkeys. Ready to go. I can drop in the 6903 process came from a guy named McReal on TikTok, and he took what I did and ran further with it because he was under the gun, so he went further than I did. You go that extra mile when someone's chasing you, you know, when the bear's after you. You go that extra mile.
Yep. Well, what's pushing you if you don't have something to push you to do it?
Yeah, I feel that.
Vendetta. Vendetta. There's a few of those. Navy Federal, Princess Cruise Lines, the Pinellas County Court, and the trailer park down there. Let's have some vendettas to go back and bleed them green. No one's immune to the IRS and no one's immune to the tax court. What was I working on?
What do you mean by that?
That is a pronoun.
Well, when you say no one is immune to,
Judges, the president, they're not immune to the IRS. They're not immune to the tax court. There's no immunity for judges and lawyers or presidents to the IRS. They're not immune. Hunter Biden somehow is, but I mean it's kind of weird. But and the tax and the mail fraud is a global thing. It's under the UPU, so they're not immune to mail fraud. They're not immune to tax fraud.
now